everyone. This is the Amazon Lily Roundtable. I'll start by introducing people. Hello, Pastel Dallas.
Hello. Can I just give an intro now?
Yeah,
Is that
sure.
what we're
Yeah,
doing?
you could. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
cool.
intro.
All right, hey everyone. I haven't streamed for 2 weeks. I do activism IRL whenever I can. It's kind of hard during the COVID pandemic. My gimmick here most of the time is making sure I can encourage people to get involved in local politics. Super easy. Just get to know your local politicians, and they can probably solve most of your problems locally. Um, the focus on federal politics, I think, is a little bit unhealthy, considering while it does have an effect, local politics is usually just completely overshadowed due to it. Um, Recently, I will be streaming more often now. Since I'm gonna kind of cut back on just watching Stargate every night. Um, I've been playing this new fighting game because there's an upcoming tournament. I want to see if I do well on it. So if you want to watch me learn and probably get really upset that I can't beat people, come and watch that. My viewers think it's really entertaining, and I get really upset. Other than that, I'm here to have a good time and talk to everyone. So that's all.
Thank you so much for being here. Okay. Next, we will go to our lovely co-host, Aristocracy. Eris, hey, how are you, buddy?
Hey. I'm good. I'm a little tired. But I've been going I don't know, this Twitch world is insane and I've been working my butt off. So, yeah, things have been crazy. But thanks for having me. I'm Aristocracy. I'm a history streamer on Twitch. You can follow me on Aristocracy TV. And I also run Calliopean Club, which is just Discord Calliope Club. I think Calliopean.club. And I stream every day at 2, and I talk about history and how it connects to politics, and I also do interviews. I'm interviewing Dylan Burns tomorrow, and yeah, that's it.
And you're actively eating. I mean, what are you eating right now? We can hear you with the.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I technically wasn't supposed to be on tonight.
Yeah.
But so that's why I didn't plan my dinner accordingly.
Yeah.
But I'm eating a tiramisu right now.
Okay. Got it. I hope it's quite delicious. Okay. Next, we have Merrick. Merrick, who we been trying to get on for quite a while. We had on once, I think, a very long time ago. But yeah, you're here today when we need you the most. So, Merrick, please.
Yes, hi, thank you. I am Merrick DeVille. I am a sex worker. I talk about, I try to do advocacy for sex work. I talk about legislation connected to it. I am like a lefty, sometimes streamer. I put out YouTube videos. I do like video essay stuff sometimes. But I'm mostly known for talking about sex work stuff and like Twitter shit posting. So yeah, I'm very happy to be here. And you can find me at Merrick DeVille on Twitch and YouTube, and then I think I'm Eldritch Mother on Twitter. Because I was banned, so now I have a new Twitter.
All right, fair enough. All right, makes sense. Sure. Last but absolutely not least, we have Lyra Centauri. I'm so happy to have you back. The crowd is too. They're going wild. At least I am. Lyra, thank you for stopping by.
Oh, yes, I'm always happy to be here. It's always such a fun time. Also, I'm sorry if I'm sometimes looking very confused because my internet is super bad and I keep going in and out. But hopefully everything should be good. But yeah, hello, hi everybody. Glad to be back.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so we'll just get started on topic 1, and maybe others will pop in. We'll see. Topic 1. Twitch has taken a major step in terms of community management by deciding to ban users for misconduct that takes place off of their platform. Twitch says it will respond to serious offenses that pose a substantial safety risk to the Twitch community, even if these actions occur entirely off Twitch. Those include acts of deadly violence and violent extremism, terrorist activity, explicit or credible threats of mass violence, sexual exploitation of minors, and sexual assault and abuse. However, do you trust Twitch or any social media company to responsibly manage users while offline? Is Twitch taking stricter control of its content creators by regulating what they do when not on the platform? Shouldn't all of the criticisms levied at Facebook's attempts at quote-unquote fact-checking be levied at Twitch as well? Okay, yeah. So we'll start with Pastel. You can literally take as long as you want. There's no time limit.
Okay, let me read over this again.
If you
Oh
want-
yeah, I think
Do you want me to
I
come
think
back
Twitch
to
has
you?
a. Oh no, I'm fine.
Mm.
I'm just like I can't get over the cat and the dog in Merrick's. I'm like they're so cute. I love them. Um, yeah, I think Twitch has a right to do whatever they want and host whoever they want on their platform. I'm not sure. I see, like, I'm actually like a super newbie to Twitch. I didn't know until recently that if you get banned, they don't even tell you why you get banned, which I think is like really dumb. So if they're pretty open about like why you're removed, I think that'd be pretty cool. But if they're just gonna start doing it randomly and given no like explanation, I think that'd be kind of dumb. But like it's in their right to do so. Is Twitch control?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Twitch is taking a strict control of its content creators when regulating them, but I think they've always been doing that. So I know they're going to do whatever they think is profitable for their business. I don't think it's like a really, really, really like big, morally bad thing by any means. Probably just like it's actually probably just a better thing, honestly, to actually start regulating this because you probably don't want to platform people who are probably active threats or espousing extremism or literally terrorist activity or other credible threats. Yeah, this is probably a good thing for them, honestly. It just matters how they go about doing it. That'd be my take.
Well, Eris?
I honestly was kind of shocked they didn't have this before. Like that's kind of more concerning than anything. Like I don't know if someone got caught, I don't know, like being a predator to minors, like they were just allowed to go stream on Twitch as long as they didn't do it on Twitch. I don't like that seems kind of crazy to me. And I'm happy that they're catching up. But I don't know, like I feel like I must have misunderstood because everyone's been telling me that it's so much more like as acting as if it's so much more strict than it sounds when I read it. So I don't know if I just completely misunderstood it. It really just seemed like stuff that to me was just like the basics of running a responsible community.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry to butt in, but I didn't. I also just assumed they had something like this already. I'm actually really shocked that this is like a thing that they're adding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Merrick.
So on the one hand, if they had been banning people for their real life bad behavior, Cassandra Fairbanks would never have been on Twitter, and she never would have published the Gateway Pundit article saying that Lil Nas X threatened to rape Caitlyn Bennett's dad, and I never would have said, I'm gonna fuck your dad, become your new stepmother, and turn off your internet, and then my Twitter account never would have gotten nuked. So, sounds like it could be a good thing. On the other hand, those fuckers over at twitter.com nuked my Twitter account for telling Cassandra Fairbanks that I was going to fuck her dad, become her new stepmother, and turn her internet off. So, I don't know how to feel about this because on the one hand, if you're a predator to children, should you be able to get on like Twitch or Twitter? Wait, is it specifically Twitch? Is that what we're talking about?
Twitch.
Did I just have like a
Twitch.
total brain?
Twitch.
Oh my god, I was so mad about a totally different platform. Okay, never mind. That totally kills my whole point. I thought we were talking about Twitter. So I agree, I guess, with the point made that like if you have been convicted of something that like involves children, I don't see any particular reason why you need to be on Twitch because there are a lot of children on Twitch, and I don't think that you need an avenue through which to speak to them. I also don't think that if you espouse extremist views, and if you are someone who is going to be pushing fake news, but in a way that it's not necessarily going to get picked up by the algorithm, I don't think you have any business being on Twitch. I think it's actually probably a really good business move to not have people who are bad faith actors or people who have done things that we as a society deem really, really, really inappropriate. I don't particularly see a problem with that. However, I do sort of wonder about the implementation and heavy-handedness because I don't think that big tech companies have the people's best interest at heart, and I think that it would be very easy to put these wide sweeping reforms out and go, this is going to make things better, and then you just end up hurting a bunch of people who didn't actually do anything wrong in the process. So I think this is a really, it sounds like a good idea, but it would be a difficult thing to implement fairly.
Thanks so much. Next, Lyra.
Yes, I totally agree with what has been saying here. So it's like Twitch has like, and for obvious reasons, has been like trying to put more of an effort in making sure they have more like, I suppose, brand safe deals, because I mean, Twitch has more of an image that they're trying to upkeep, and of course, what's the reason you want to keep up a good image? For money. That being said, I don't mean this to say like, oh, they're just doing this to get money, but like, one is the totally like reasonable thing for Twitch to be concerned about what kind of influence that they have, that the people who are representing their brand are putting forward. So one of the arguments that I could see being made against this protocol, which also I agree with you guys, I thought this was already in effect. Very surprised that this is coming up now. But one of the ways that I could see people arguing against this is like, oh, well, like, I mean, Twitch is a social media. You shouldn't like, they might say like, well, you shouldn't try to like, control what people say and do, especially if it's offline. And to that, I would say, no, that you may be able to like slide through that with like Facebook or Twitter and Instagram, but we're talking about Twitch. And like Twitch is basically a content creator like nebula cloud. Like people who are streaming on Twitch may become that, well, they are public figures. So like, and when you have a public figure, then Twitch that is connected to Twitch, obviously they would care more about what kind of image they are portraying and putting out, because whatever image that they put out is automatically reflected on Twitch. Because I mean, if someone's a terrorist, then that's Twitch's terrorist. So it's like Twitch does have even more of a reason, has even more of a responsibility to care about what their content creators do in and outside of Twitch, because it's their image that they're linked to. So I do agree with this protocol. I do. That being said, I can understand why some people would be concerned about how it would be handled, because like Twitch kind of doesn't have a very good track record when it comes to like evenly not leveling the playing field, but like applying the same rules. Because like, listen, there are a lot of things that huge creators can get away with that smaller creators cannot. So then that begs the question, they're like, well, are they going to apply this evenly? Because I mean, if they don't get rid of the like, because if they don't go after the bigger content creators who are like clearly can be the most dangerous, and they only do it for smaller content creators, then what's the whole point of it? What's the whole point of doing that in the first place? But all things considered, as long as like it's being done like responsibly, I do think Twitch has every right to care about what streamers do on and offline.
So, all this it's open to the panel. I wanted to engage with America a little bit because of what you said. I agree with much of what Lyra just mentioned now, and bringing that in, because Twitch has been so so unpredictable in how it applies its TOS, right? Since it's been so unpredictable, like I feel like I wouldn't trust it at all. I feel like you were describing some sort of situation you had on Twitter, right? Which seems like fucking hilarious and good for you. But so it's Twitch says it's only going to be using this for like quote unquote serious offenses. But who knows what a serious offense is, right? What if Caleb Bennett thinks like you threatened her, and Twitch goes along with that, right? Caitlin Bennett, might have a bigger platform than you, right? And what if she says, yeah, it was a big problem, and now like because of this tweet, now they take you off of Twitch.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a legitimate concern. I mean there are also content creators who, I think as we all know, mass harassment is a huge problem. that a lot of, especially feminine or feminine presenting content creators have to deal with. So let's say there's a hate campaign after you. Well, I mean, if enough people go to Twitch and they just say, oh, X person did this, are we looking at a situation where Twitch is going to go, okay, well, it's in our financial and social best interest to either suspend this person's account while we look into this, give this person a temporary ban? What if you're falsely accused of a crime? What happens then? There's any number of things that could happen. I mean, I just don't know how much I trust the implementation of the rules on a platform that is notorious for not treating people equally. I've also been told that, before I started streaming on Twitch, because I just started dual streaming YouTube and Twitch, I was also told that as a sex worker and as a woman who wears like low cut shirts and booty shorts and stuff, that I need to be very, very, very careful. And that any little thing, like if I show too much cleavage, I could get my Twitch account banned. So it's like but then there are other streamer girls who can do like bathtub streams, and they don't really tell people what they get banned for. I think this was brought up earlier, right? That once you're done, you're just done. And then they don't have to tell you anything. So this already seems like a platform that doesn't really have a lot of transparency, doesn't really have a lot of accountability to its creators. So I don't really see any reason why they should be trusted.
Yeah, Eris, some people do hot tub streams. Isn't it weird that some people can do that, Eris?
I feel very personally attacked.
Yeah, so and please everyone jump in, just like if you want to, like I don't want to just be talking over people here, but yeah, I think, I mean, especially for women, things can be quite treacherous, right? Like if you're going to be showing any skin, but again, that's not true for all creators, and so I think it may be easier if I like tell a bit of my own story with Twitch, right? Like Twitch, I have learned the hard way, does not have your back. It absolutely doesn't, especially if you're a small streamer, and that's like what I am. Like getting like 200 or so people does not make me a big streamer here. I'm still quite insignificant here on Twitch, and so like there was a situation where there was harassment. There was harassment on my channel to me, right? Someone came to harass me on my channel, and I got the warning any which way, right? I told Twitch, hey, like I explained what happened. Like you have the VOD, you see what, like I got rid of this person the moment it took place, but then I got the warning. What? And they're like, oh yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like the warning stays, and if you do it again, we'll take further action.
What was the warning for? Did you use harsh language when you told them to get out of your chat or something?
Oh,
like
no,
what
no,
could you
no.
possibly get the warning for?
No, for their behavior. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So are you're responsible for things that guests say on your panels and streams?
Apparently, yes. I think
Which is such a wild concept.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's terrible. I think Twitch, its TOS is designed for single streamers. It's not designed for people to do this at all, right? So they don't take this into account, that you can't control what other people do. So yeah. And so this company has done that, right? Like I don't trust them to fairly adjudicate anything, right? Like if it might scare an advertiser, that's good enough, and it'll toss you out.
Yeah, I really see that because like they seem to like have so much like wiggle room when it comes to like huge content creators, because obviously if they just go ahead and ban them, then like they lose out on a lot of money. So they tend to like give them a huge margin of error, even when they do like some pretty fucked up things. And it's like a mercy that they don't really extend to smaller creators, because they're just like, oh, we're not getting that much money from you, so who cares? So in that respect, it's like I don't know. Twitch is just very like flip-floppy and wishy-washy when it comes to these things. Because it's like if what you want is a better image, and like you would think that they would care a bit more about the huge content creators doing like things that are against TOS. But also the TOS is kind of weird. I have a lot of beef with the TOS. Not personal beef as like some of y'all, because I haven't been streaming for very long, but like there's a couple of things that I just think are like really dumb. One of which being like how the girls have a dress code, basically a dress code that doesn't make any sense at that.
What
Yeah,
is the dress code exactly?
It's
anyone
very
know?
weird.
We just
I'm
went
reading.
over this the other day when we were talking about hot tub streamers. Like we were having a discussion of hot tub streamers. So we actually went over TOS with that, and you should definitely check it out. Actually, you Merrick, if you're going to be streaming on Twitch, you need to read the entire TOS to find this information, like
It's
everything.
weird. It's like you're reading like a high school's dress code. Like it's like very oddly specific about some things and other things not. I remember like looking through. I don't remember all the exact details of it, but I remember looking at it when I first started streaming because like I like to cosplay sometimes. And like so I was like, okay, so how much cleavage can I show? Like how much leg can I show? I just remember one rule that I thought was very weird was like, okay, like you can like, you could show a little titty a little bit. No, not a nipple, but like you could show some cleavage, right? But like if you show like this part of your that's a ban. So like if I dress up as Nami from but like here's where it's weird because like if I cosplay as Nami from One Piece with a bikini top, that's chill. I got on some jeans.
Okay,
But if
I
I
just
dress up as Chun Li, who has the slits right here, ban. Because someone
But-
did get banned for dressing up as Chun Li.
I actually just found the perfect solution to this. Like, I don't know. Just call me King Solomon. Like, I found the perfect solution, right? Okay, all we have to do is we allow hot tub streamers, right? We just reward them for wearing their clothes. And then
In the
this
hot
way,
tub.
and
Fully
in the
clothed.
hot tub,
in the hot tub,
right?
yeah.
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 Are there
I mean,
there
there
any
are
rules?
clothes that work for hot tubs, right? I'm sure that's a thing.
What-
It could be a huge emerging market, right? Like that could actually be a really great idea. And then on top of that, the way it would just be much more equal, and you wouldn't have like the consequences. Because I do understand why, especially people who want like Twitch to be focused on, I guess, like content that's like available to like kids and just like more family friendly stuff. I understand why they just don't want it because the financial system, the incentive system just tells people, especially it puts a lot of pressure on women who don't want to show skin, like to show skin, right? So I understand why if that's not the kind of platform they want to have, like I get it. But I still don't like, but it like everyone can see how ridiculous this whole hot tub thing is.
Yeah,
It's like it's obvious that it's really stupid. And it's doing the exact opposite of what they want, right? Because I mean, what person wants their like, I don't know, like young girl to go watch like a hot tub stream when they're like 6 years old and see that like when it's totally inappropriate for them. And I don't think even like what's her name? Something Fox. I don't think she actually even puts on like the adult tag, right? Like kids can watch that.
Oh, Indie
technically.
Fox? Is that what
Indie Fox. She's my favorite. I mean, I don't have favorites. I don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
Pastel?
Yeah. I
So-
feel like Twitch really needs to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so like I wasn't like I've been watching Stargate again, so I didn't know about like the Twitch hot tub stuff. And so I just like checked in on one of them just for like 30 minutes to see what like everyone was complaining about. And it's kind of weird how they don't even like have to be in the water. They can just be like next to a hot tub and like whatever they want, and that's fine. But someone is like disconnected from any source of water or anything, and it's like banned immediately. Banned forever, gone. You're into the shadow realm, never to stream again.
Once again, I like you
it's-
more, Pastel Dallas, for using that reference. Great.
It's like I just find it really like weird because like I agree. Like we're all saying the same thing. This rule is probably a good one, except Twitch is probably going to fumble this terribly, like they've always done in the past. Someone
Can I ask you
somewhere.
guys something that might be a little more contentious,
Okay.
possibly?
Sure.
Do you guys think that it's fair for Twitch, like, do you think that it's fair for Twitch to say that to control at all, like, what women wear on their platform? Besides, like, the basics of, like, I don't know, cover up, your genitals.
I mean, from like purely business standpoint, they have the complete right to do so.
Yeah, I'm not
but
talking about rights, though. I'm talking about, like, what you think is the right thing to do.
I think
Like-
it's insanely cringe on how hypocritical they are towards people. That would be my take. But Twitch, please, I love you. Don't like shadow ban me or anything. But yeah, I think it's insanely weird how it's not even like big streamers. It just depends on like even if you like I know someone who literally had streamed 3 movies got away with it as long as you're like not tagged in the category. And it's like maybe they don't have like people searching for stuff like that. They're like fairly large. I think they get like a couple hundred viewers, and it's like insane how some TOS, like some streamers, have the smallest infraction.
They could have been doing it from Amazon Prime. If they were doing it from Amazon Prime.
No, they weren't.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay,
no, they were not doing that.
Never mind.
Yeah, but
Like,
some
you're allowed
streamers,
to share from Amazon Prime.
Yeah. It's all,
yeah, I think so.
yeah.
'Cause I was thinking
From
of
Prime
something like
Video,
that.
you can do that. You have to follow some steps, but you can do that if you have Prime Video.
But yeah, I think it's really weird how some streamers literally smallest of infractions, and it's like a perma ban. But like other streamers have probably some of the largest breaches of TOS ever, and they get like a 1-day ban. I think it's really weird, and I just wish Twitch was far more transparent on like why.
So Merrick,
Wait, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Hold on. Didn't Pokimane accidentally show porn on stream once?
Yes.
I wouldn't know.
I did hear about that.
Oh, I know.
I did hear it was very contentious for Twitch. Especially since like Pokimane has built like such a wholesome platform, and then all of a sudden like all these hundreds of thousands of people, well, not hundreds of thousands, but thousands of people, but she didn't get banned though. I guess you could assume why.
Because
I mean, given it was a mistake, but
mistakes don't matter.
Lower content creators
Mistakes don't matter for the rest of us. Mistakes don't matter.
Yeah, they would have
mistakes don't matter for anyone
that
else.
mercy to us. I think Twitch needs to decide like what kind of audience are they looking for when it comes to what they can, when it comes to how I feel what they can and can't mandate. Because if they decide, okay, if they pull a trigger and they go, all right, we just want this to be like a website that is fully accessible to children, everyone, for everyone ages, then that's a different thing. But the thing is, like, Twitch has not been built up in that way. Twitch has been like open to everyone, open, to adults, and that's why they have the 18 plus, the mature tag, mature audiences. So it's like because that they have that ability for like I guess streamers to like mark their channels or something, it makes like what rules they put forth like very, very weird. Because it's like, okay, if Twitch had decided like, okay, this is an adult platform, or at least like 16 and above platform, you can do whatever you want, then the dress code is even more stupid, because it's like we're adults, we're being viewed by adults, so we can do whatever we want. But because they have such wiggle room, because they want all the Minecraft money, they want all the kid money, they're like kind of like make these rules very vague and loose, and like we have a dress code for some things, but it only applies to to women. It doesn't apply to video games unless you're an avatar. You can't have an avatar. You can't be a VTuber with too much of a provocative avatar. It's very weird. But I think part of me feels like it was kind of like intentional that they made their TOS so like wishy-washy and vague, and it just sucks.
Sure,
I want to make sure Merrick, because Merrick wasn't here when Eris asked a question, so I want to make sure she knows. So Eris asked a really interesting question as to whether you think, right, and maybe separate it from like legality or anything, but what do you think that Twitch should be allowed to regulate what like women wear at all beyond just covering up your genitals?
So we're talking outside of, are we talking morally? Should they be able to do that?
Eris?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, when you're saying should they be allowed to do that, are you saying like should they like legally, or are you coming at it from like a moral standpoint?
Neither, I guess. I mean, it's just in terms of like what we think makes sense for Twitch and what we want out of
Sure.
Twitch. So
Sure.
obviously, we picked the Twitch platform to stream versus other platforms for a reason. But yeah, I'm not talking about what they do outside of Twitch, right? Like I like, yeah, like, so if someone wanted to do like sex work outside of Twitch or whatever, right? But then it wouldn't like reflect on what they're doing, like well, I guess now with the new codes it might, but it wouldn't actually like reflect. I was just talking about if we thought that women wearing very revealing clothing did ruin the culture of Twitch.
Pastel, we can hear you typing. If you could mute yourself.
Oh, my bad.
Go ahead.
I thought my gain was up high enough.
No problem.
So
Yeah.
I think asking if it ruins the culture of Twitch is kind of a loaded term.
Yeah, I just didn't know how else to put it, right?
Sure. You know, I think that we as a society should be moving in a direction where nudity, not even full nudity, but women's bodies are sort of desexualized in some instances, in some cases. And I think that by having this sort of like, oh no, that's naughty, that needs to be covered up, that, you know, we need to protect the children. I do think that while in some ways that sort of like unfortunately helps my career almost. Um, I don't think that it's morally correct. I definitely think that if we treat female bodies as these things that have to be covered up and hidden, and the private parts are they're dirty and they're private and naughty. Like I think there's a lot of that that doesn't need to be explicitly said. That's definitely very implied when we create this environment where women need to be covered up. And I think that that leads to worse outcomes because it I think that it makes sexuality and people's understanding of other people's bodies, it adds obstacles to it. I think just being open and I think just kind of like making it not so much of a big deal would make us have healthier attitudes towards these sort of things. So I'm never going to advocate for the position that uh, women showing anything is going to ruin the culture of whatever environment that it's in. That's never a position I'm going to take. I think that not even for children, but just for there's a lot of people in this country who have some very, very, very I think unhealthy attitudes about women's bodies and sex, and I think kind of demystifying that would be good. So no, I don't really think that Twitch should have the ability to tell women what they can and can't wear, outside of you know the basic decency of like covering your genitals, or covering your breasts. But even that, I don't really have so much of a big deal with. I kind of think that breasts could be desexualized if we really worked towards that. But yeah, that's never a position I'm going to take.
So
I understand that perspective. I feel like I actually think that you made a really, really good point. I actually I'd probably say that I agree with it ideologically, but like in practice, um, our like you know our bodies are sexualized. So
Sure.
um, I actually wouldn't have zero issue if like I don't know a woman was like breastfeeding, like and her nipple was showing or something like on camera, like in Twitch, right? Like
Mhm.
like ideologically, I would have no issue with it. Um, I think the frustrating thing is especially as a woman, you're often forced to be sexualized so often that it's almost like it's frustrating. Especially not everyone like lives in like very like lefty welcoming environments where there's no consequences to being sexualized, right? So
Sure.
even if you do want to be sexualized, like yeah, it's not often not like an option for people. Um,
S- So
and
hold
so
on.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Whenever you're ready, I do want to kind of give a little bit of pushback on the idea that even in lefty circles, being sexualized is met with open arms because
Oh,
I
yeah, no.
promise you it is
I would just
not.
say it's better than the Orthodox Jewish community, right? That's what
Yeah,
I would take a
definitely,
wild guess. Um,
definitely.
but I like but at the same time, um, there's like an effect that happens where, for example, where women see like other women get, I mean, and we just know it, right? Like that women who are showing like a cleavage or skin or is, like sexualizing themselves, they just do get way more attention. Their careers are much more successful, right? Like on average. And so like there what starts to happen is like an incentive structure um where and I've seen this like a lot. Like I remember when I first started streaming, when I tried streaming like 6 years ago or something. At the time I used camera and one of the other female streamers contacts me and she's like, "Oh, thank God, like another, like I'm so glad that you're like the only other girl and we're like the good ones because we don't show cleavage, right?" And I was like, "Oh, that's not like
Yikes.
I didn't want to like
Yeah.
imply that we
Yikes.
were one of the good ones. That's not was like
Spooky.
yeah, that wasn't what I was trying to say. But like she'd almost created like this narrative in her head. She probably doesn't stream anymore, so I feel bad about this. She probably created this narrative in her head that like she was being pressured basically. I think like she was probably mad at the wrong people about that. So her animosity was being directed towards like, more sexual women and everything. But in reality, like she was being punished for not being as sexual as those women. And it wasn't the women's fault, right? I mean, who at the end of the day is fault? It's like the person who's more incentivized, right? Sorry, Prime, you seem to be really attacked right now.
Uh,
But yeah, it just creates like this huge problem where women are always being told that our entire value is so based in our sexuality, and for the women who don't want to have that, or they don't want to explore that part of them, or whatever, for whatever reason, right? You end up getting punished for it, especially like we all know that sex just takes over everything. Like it really does. There's a reason why just chatting, the people who are always like at top, besides like that one guy, I forget his name, it's like always the hot tub streamers. Like it just takes over everything. I mean, I'm complaining about them and I watch them all the time. Like I just can't help it. It's like biological or something. So um so like because of that, I feel like you can't even take away sex being a big deal. Maybe eventually you can, but because it is a big deal right now, it just naturally will take over your entire platform. And if that's not what you want your platform to be about, then it makes sense to me to at least try to limit it in some kind of capacity. That's
So,
my hot
okay.
take.
I understand. Okay, I actually do understand where you're coming from. This is funny because this is a charge that's levied at me quite a bit, actually. A lot of people on left Twitter think that I am sort of like a scourge of the left Twitter because I am so sexual, because I am openly a sex
Mhm.
worker. And it's, there have been a lot of accusations leveled at me that because I am sexual and because I am open with that, that I'm filling the left with sex pests. So this is a discourse that happens relatively regularly, right? And then you know, other women feel pressured or other women feel unsafe, and then it's, oh well, it's because you're doing this, it's because you're showing skin, and this is something I've thought a lot about, and um, I think that while you are right, and there is a biological component to sexualizing things and sexualizing people, this is very
Mhm.
normal. I also think that we are evolved to the point where we are not in a position where we have to just give in to our most base urges all the time. I think people can be taught to think about things in a different way. We can rewire the neural pathways in our brains. I mean, we know that we can do this. We know that culture, we know that behavioral expectations, the societal contract of wherever it is that we live, these impact us very heavily. So, my argument would be that if you actually want to feel like you are not necessarily being pressured to be sexualized, I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to make it clear that women can and should be able to do whatever they want with their bodies without it being an invitation for other people to comment or set up expectations around. And I think the way that we do this is we create boundaries. We set up boundaries for people and we say, okay, um, you know, it's not like these are the rules for women who are sexual and these are the rules for women who are not. But realistically, we should look at a woman's body is hers to do with as she pleases. And I think that contact. There's this contact theory and like exposure therapy. Like there's all these things that we have um, that show us that things can be normalized and you can get used to certain things. I mean, if you look at European beaches or beaches in Brazil, it's women wandering around in tiny thongs and nothing else. And it's not like men can't control themselves or that people are constantly staring. It's very normalized for them. So I think that we can definitely get there, but I think that it takes work, and we are the ones who have to be putting in the work. And I think part of that work is normalizing that women can and should be able to show and do whatever they want with their bodies. And I think it takes the work of women like me who do want to show their body to also step up and say, hey, it's good to have body autonomy. It's good to have sexual liberation. It's good to have, women's liberation. But at the same time, another part of women's liberation is that they get to decide what feels good for them. If modesty feels good for them, then you leave them the fuck alone about that. And so this is something that like I also try to advocate for, that people like you shouldn't be pressured. And when people are like, when are you going to start an OnlyFans? When are you going to start an OnlyFans? I think that's some like I am someone who does very well on OnlyFans, and I talk about OnlyFans a lot, and I think that that's fucking disgusting, and I think people need to stop doing that to people they find attractive online. So, while I agree with you, I understand your concerns. I think both of our concerns are actually valid, and the way that we progress forward to kind of break down this like to break down these sexual expectations is to just say to people like it, your expectations are kind of toxic and caustic, and we should be able to be however we want.
But the
So
financial incentive is already there, right? Like there is a financial incentive. Like, so even if we're not telling women that, right? Like with their words, you're still telling women with your money, with the views that they're getting. You're still like communicating to that woman that, oh, like because you're not attractive or because you're not like sexualized or something, you're worth less on this platform. So like if that's not what you want to reward on that platform, and you want to reward other things, it makes sense to me like why Twitch wouldn't want to focus on that.
so
But yeah, I just think that the incentive system, I actually agree with you, Merrick, that I think that ideally we would live in that kind of society. I just don't think we do. And I hate to do the whole capitalist meme, um but when like with money, there's just a constant like even if no person is saying anything to, like, for example, even if no person is saying something to me, and people are being incredibly respectful for me, besides for the VTuber thing, some people said so many things about that, but in general people are really respectful for me, so like no one has to say anything to me, but I'm still very, very aware that if I turn on my camera, or even if I went and I got like a bikini drawn for my character, and when I was in the hot tub, right, my views would just skyrocket up. And that's always that, like, so even if we're saying, even if no one's telling me that, that's always there. So that incentive structure kind of creates an illusion of choice. That's my point.
So, okay, Merrick, I actually really want to engage with you with some of the things you said because I think it's actually super interesting. But before that, I need to introduce the people over here, then I'll go to Bastel Dallas. But don't worry, I definitely really want to engage with you because I think you have some interesting ideas there. First, we'll introduce Johnny Scarlett for coming through. Johnny, hey, thanks for being here. Johnny just like DM me. He's like, oh yeah, you know, I'll come on. Johnny doesn't even know what the topics are, but Johnny.
No, we're good. I do have a good idea of some things that I would like to reply to though when we start engaging with this. I noticed what the main topic was, so
Sure.
it's wonderful to see you guys.
Yeah. Okay, then we'll do that. And then next. Sorry, I'm just really entertained by Merrick right now. I'll tell her that. Hey, Merrick, I'm super entertained by you, like a huge bag of food. What did you order for the audience? The audience wants to know.
Schlotsky's.
Okay.
Just got a sandwich.
Okay. All right. Well, look, you should.
I've been streaming for like a million hours today, and this is like first chance to eat. I'm sorry.
No,
I know it
no, it's
might
fine.
be kind of
No,
rude.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I don't care.
Okay, cool.
You should have just bought enough for everyone, though. I mean, that's kind of weird, but all right. Next, we have Maddie. Maddie, who I'm so happy to have back. Maddie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so sorry. Now that like I've started working full time again, it just really is a bummer being on the West Coast because everyone starts streaming so early. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm already like enthralled by the conversation. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Okay. So we'll let in Pastel Dallas, assuming she's still on the call, right? Yeah, you are. Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm back. I don't know why the website just randomly died for me. That's a little weird.
Okay, your audio is kind of breaking up a little bit. Maybe you should disconnect and reconnect.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll pull you right back in. Okay, so while Pastel is doing that, hold on, give me 1 second. Hopefully I can pull her back in. Now your audio is a little weird too. All right, well, we'll see. Speak again, Pastel.
Hello, is this better?
Much better. All right, yeah. Okay.
Cool. So like, I agree with a lot of things that Merrick said. I was literally having this conversation with my friend while watching Stargate, literally just 2 nights ago, about like how we like, for some reason we like to present this civilization in the current time as like very sexually liberated, which I guess is true whenever we look at like history, but like we're really not. Like there's a lot of things that like women just like can't do, or like without like repercussion. However, at the same time, there's like a financial incentive to do it, which I think is such a weird contradiction that exists. And also, there are just some people in chat who I think are like giving some really stupid takes. Like I mean, like some bottom of the barrel stuff where it's
Yes,
like,
roast
oh,
them.
like where
Roast
it's like,
them.
oh,
Roast
woman
them.
has only friends. No. She's not allowed to complain that she's constantly sexualized. No, that's really fucking stupid. If you have this
the
take,
fuck said
please
that?
rethink your entire like moral positions and everything, because dog shit, actual literal cringe. Okay,
That is, that's
Women-
some victim blaming nonsense.
yeah, women
Yeah, I know,
shouldn't
it's so
have to be
dumb.
sexualized in all areas just because they have one acceptable place where they say it's okay. All right, I don't know how you can't understand this. Maybe you just lack basic comprehension and don't know how to think. But like, I just want you to know that's literally a dog shit take. Literally, probably some of the worst I've ever read in the last week. Okay.
So, Merrick,
You
just
make
so
it
you
bad
know,
and you feel bad.
Merrick, just so you know,
Terrible.
Pastel was responding to someone saying that, you know, if you have only fans, then you shouldn't be surprised if you're sexualized, basically. So that's what she was responding to just then.
Yeah,
I mean, it's all about like consent, right? If you are consenting for your image, your likeness, your videos, content to be sexualized on a specific platform, that is not then extending consent for you
Yeah,
to be
for literally
sexualized in
everywhere
every
else.
other platform of your existence. Like that's and to assume so is quite frankly
It's a little
reflective
rapey.
of what
I don't know.
that-
Hold on.
That's
Hold
It
on.
is.
I actually,
Very
I want to
rapey.
push back on this just a tiny bit. I'm going to compare this to celebrity status because I was telling somebody earlier, you know, celebrities like the Khloe Kardashian is going through this thing right now where there's this photo that she doesn't like on the internet and she's trying to get people to take it down. And I was making the comment that, you know, one of the things that you give up in exchange for celebrity status is a lot of control over your personal image. You know, people can post whatever they want, pictures of you, because everyone knows who you are and if you go in public. So Merrick, how do you feel actually about, because everybody's kind of talking for you right now, how do you feel about the idea that because you engage in something like sex work, you shouldn't be surprised that it leaks into other areas of the internet?
Well, I think the phrasing "it leaks into other areas of the internet" actually opens this up for me to respond in multiple ways. So I'm someone who I get revenge porn of me posted a lot. I have pissed off honestly impressive number of people. And so my porn is posted quite frequently on Twitter. And it's all over Reddit. It's pretty dog shit, but I have now come to realize that you know, I put those images out, and this was a possibility that I knew could happen. So on that front, it is a violation of my consent. It is illegal, but it is something that I know can happen. Now, as far as how people interact with me on an individual level, um, I am a human being, right? So I can engage in specific activities under specific circumstances when I consent to engaging in those with the people that I consent to engage them with. And the way that I wish to make those images available is when you go to my website and you sign up and you pay me money to see them. And this is very straightforward. I don't tell people, oh, you can just see my porn whenever. I say, this is where my porn is at. These are the conditions under which I will let you view it. And I am a human being. So sometimes I am at work. Sometimes I am not at work. And the way that you are treated needs to be reflective of how you are comfortable being treated. Now, I have a lot of serious discussions about things. I also meme a lot. I also post pictures of my own titties and cleavage a lot. If I'm on an incredibly proud moment, I am going to brag for a second. Keemstar was being a shithead online because that is what Keemstar does. He's a shithead online. But he was being a shithead online to someone that I like. So I said, ratio! And I posted a picture of my cleavage, and I ratioed the fuck out of Keemstar with my tits. Now, if you want to come to me at that and you want to go, nice bazoongas, mommy, I'm going to go, thank you. I appreciate that. You can sexualize me in that situation because we are creating a sexual situation. That's fine. If I'm on my stream and I'm explaining to you how the Koch network uses astroturfing and paying candidates off in small local races, and you come into my stream and you go, fucking step on me, mommy, I want you to squish me, I'm going to be like, no, you need to fucking stop. Like, this is obviously not appropriate here. This is not the environment that I have set up. I clearly am projecting I've created an environment and projected an image of myself for this specific environment that is not sexual. So no, you have not been given permission to sexualize me in this context. So I think that saying, well, your porn is out there. Okay. I mean, so can I go up to a plumber at any point and be like, can you fix my pipes? Can you come over to my house? Can you tell me how to fix this leak? No, they'd be like, I'm not at work. You're not paying me. What the fuck? Like, there are boundaries that people have, and I am so much more than the fact that I sometimes suck dick on camera. Like, I'm an actual real human being. So I think the idea that I should expect people to not separate me in any context from my work is borderline rapey, intellectually lazy, extremely disrespectful, and I honestly don't. Yeah.
Well, and like dehumanizing too.
So I wanted to
Mary,
let
you are
in.
preaching right now.
I was gonna let in Lyra, but yeah, Merrick, I totally agree with you. I just really wish you didn't use the plumber example. It just writes itself. So maybe next time, just reach a little farther for your metaphors. All right, Lyra.
I've got a coon brain. I'm sorry.
Oh my god. But yes, Merrick, you are 100% preaching when you do that. And I always get so frustrated when people act like that just because you're a sex worker or because you have provocative photos online, that then gives them the right to treat you any kind of way, which is such a dumb take. It's very brain dead, very intellectually lazy, as you so well put it. And like, for anyone who thinks that, I want you to understand that there is a big difference between coming to expect this type of behavior and that behavior being, normal or acceptable. Because a lot of times when this conversation is brought up, people like to say, oh, well, you have an OnlyFans, or well, you post your nudes sometimes, so you should expect people to post revenge porn of you or to consistently sexualize you. Yes, unfortunately, as women, and men are put in this situation too, it's not just a woman issue, but as women, we are very often put in a position where we are over-sexualized without our consent, where we have revenge porn, held against our heads, and we do expect to be sexually harassed. That's so fucked up how women are, we have to expect to be sexually harassed, even those of us who don't represent ourselves that way. However, just because we have come to a position of society, well, we've always been in this position, where we expect ourselves to be, sexually harassed one way or another, that doesn't magically make that behavior correct or acceptable or reasonable. Just because it happens all the time and we expect it and we prepare ourselves to be prepared for it, or sometimes we profit of it, that doesn't make it, it's okay to over-sexualize us, to sexually harass us, to sexually abuse us. It doesn't magically make it okay just because we have to expect it now. Okay, we shouldn't have to expect it, honestly. So just because it's an issue that and like I always think about this when people say, "Oh, well, of course she got raped. Look at what she was wearing to the party," and it's just like, listen, if I go out somewhere and I got a lot of cleavage, I know I'm going to get some, some cat calls. That doesn't make what they're doing correct. That doesn't make their behavior appropriate at all or correct. And like another big thing that Maddie brought up earlier was about consent. And like, honestly, people like to spin this to make it way more, confusing than it is. It is really not confusing at all. If someone gives you consent to sexualize them in a specific way, it is okay to sexualize them in that instance in the way that they have consented to. But if they don't consent to you sexually harassing them, if they don't consent to you posting all these weird rapey comments underneath their any post that they put under, then no, it's not okay. It's so easy. Just look for the consent. It's very easy. And just because well, women have this issue all the time. As a woman, you're going to be sexualized. That doesn't magically make it okay. Doesn't magically make it right. And so I'm never going to make excuses for it or understand it. It's still brain dead and stupid. Okay. But I'm rambling and digressing a bit. But I just want to make that said.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
A porn star going to like the grocery store, like this. Do you think they want to deal with you? Like if you
right.
if you think they want to be treated,
don't.
yeah, you want to be they want to be treated the same way as they do on a set. Well, then you're pretty rapey. It's pretty rapey mentality. Let's go to Maddie, and then Johnny, then Pastel.
Another element to consider with this as well is that in the case of sex workers, their image and performance, essentially, of whether it's sexual acts or just displaying their body, that is their labor, their job. So when you make demands for them to essentially provide you with their labor without compensation on demand, that is a big problem. That is inherently exploitative and messed up. And it's the same thing. I mean, I don't know why you would view what they do any differently than any other job. I think Merrick hit the nail on the head with this, where it's like, yeah, you wouldn't demand a plumber. Already, I mean, there's language written into the laws for doctors, basically telling them, like, you can't just give out free medical advice to whoever, which is why when, anyone gets their medical license, they are instantly confronted with a barrage of their friends and families being like, is this rash weird? Should I be like scared about this? And they are so limited in what they're able to do because outside of their own professional venue, it's super risky and exploitative to have them doling out that kind of advice and like performing free labor out of the goodness of their heart. Like it's just weird that outside of regular, like what we would consider like appropriate, regular, Puritan approved professional tracks, that like the idea that someone would provide free labor is just so fucked up. But then when it comes to sex work, all of a sudden it's okay and free game. And why would they expect it? And I think that's, and I think that very much speaks to in our country, especially our sort of puritanical roots, where people somehow consider those who do that work less than, even though what they're performing is necessary labor. There's clearly a market for it. So much so that people want it even when they're not willing to pay for it. So it's just a little bizarre that it's viewed through a different lens. And when I say bizarre, what I mean is fucked up.
We have a saying in the
It's
industry,
wild.
and it's called pointing with one hand and jerking with the other.
Yeah. I've heard that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, it's so wild.
Let's
how,
go to Johnny.
Sex workers are just like expected to always give out free samples. Like what? Like why?
Right? They're not. They're not Costco. Like,
Yeah, like why
different
does
samples.
everyone expect sex workers to always be willing to like sexualize themselves in any capacity? Why,
Yeah,
why do they
there's
have
no
to give out all the free samples at all times? That makes no
Like,
there's no
sense.
BOGO.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be okay without your $12, sir. You can just move along. I'm not here to give you free shit.
Yeah, like,
L-
you
Let's
can
Yeah,
leave.
save your money.
Yeah.
let's go to Johnny, then Pastel. Muted, buddy,
You're
but I'm
muted.
sure it was brilliant. Whatever you said, I know
You said-
it would have changed all of our lives. But
Hello,
looked so
friends. I am now
impassioned.
not muted. Thank you. I wanted to mention something that somebody said earlier and kind of tie that back in. The healthy mindset that I was mentioning earlier tied in with someone's mentioning of how we as people are blessed with the ability generally to change our mindsets through willpower, and we know that we must foster a healthy mindset in individuals, and this involves being able to separate our base instinctual sexual desires from the things that we do in everyday life. And that's evidenced by all sorts of things: addiction recovery, dialectical behavioral therapy. That's all sorts of things that lead to the idea that human beings really can change their mindsets and their general habits, etc., through willpower. And that sort of led me down this weird rabbit hole where I was like, well, on political Twitch and kind of on the left especially, we talk about like ending the carceral state and not punishing people as harshly, but then we have like punishment of sex pests in the Me Too movement. We have workplace harassment actually being addressed in ways of like people getting fired and maybe even people going to jail. I don't think a lot of people are going to jail, obviously, but this idea that people, in order to move to this mindset, basically, we have to figure out a way to either incentivize it or punish it in society. And right now we're sort of going the punishment route. Right now we're going, well, if you're a sex pest, fuck you, you should be fired and lose your career and everything like that. And perhaps instead, the incentive is, hey, if you're not a sex pest, we can have a really healthy society where sex workers can actually make money. And you can get really high quality sexual content at a reasonable price.
let's go to Pastel.
Yeah, so like first off, I don't even I was not aware that sex fest even became like a phrase that a lot of people are using on the left now. I think that's kind of like insanely cringe. Also, those who are like I don't understand like how this is such like a revolutionary idea that like women you shouldn't just sexualize women all the time, and then people are gonna like also in chat are like, oh, so if I find someone attractive in a store, is that sexualizing them? Like, no, obviously that isn't like that's not what we're talking about here. I don't know if you've I don't know if you have become so like deranged that you think like every time you find someone attractive you have to go harass them or something, or you're trying to defend your behavior or something. Like, this is insanely cringe. I don't know why people are being like this.
Quick question. Have you seen all the talk online about how being horny is counter-revolutionary?
Yeah,
That being horny on main is sex pestry?
I love that.
It's really funny because doing this after I heard the phrase sex pest, because I saw it on Twitter like yesterday. I'm like, huh, that's weird.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at it now, all the mentions of it, and like just is insanely cringe. When did this happen? When did like being a sex worker become counter-revolutionary and like almost as bad as being a fascist? Like, this is crazy.
Bourgeois nonsense now. Like, is
Yeah.
that what we're?
Especially if you do it with a vibrator. Yes. So this is a take that I saw for real. I really found this take in the wild where sex toys are bourgeois, and the working class just diddles them out with their fingers. And I was like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. It's so unhinged.
People are insane.
It's good because whoever. Yeah. No,
I think we should be talking about this.
No, like whoever is posting it's good because this is a fantastic barometer for who is serious about like backing up their political ideology and making meaningful progress, and who is cosplaying and LARPing, because that is fucking absurd. And I have nothing to say.
So this is a big problem, and because I am I was a very high profile sex worker, just for a little bit of background information, At one point, I had like 30,000 Twitter followers, I think. And a lot of people on the left know who I am because I'm everyone's favorite target to drag. So this is something that I have seen a lot of, and that this like really sex negative attitude, especially on Twitter. We're kind of like getting to a point. I mentioned this earlier. I don't know if everybody was in the room when I said this, where I'm being held, I guess, essentially responsible for women on the left not feeling comfortable because, as a sex worker who talks about politics and doesn't just do sex work or just do politics, that I'm kind of like inviting sex pests into the left. And there's this sort of idea that men who are okay with getting the services of sex workers or people who are okay with being horny on main are a problem or are making spaces unsafe. And I don't know if you guys saw this discourse yesterday, but all of SOCDEM Twitter was accused of being sex pests because
Yeah,
they
I
like
saw
flirt
that.
with each other on main. Yeah. So wrapped up into that was also someone, there was like claims of pedophilia. There was like the actual
Oh,
tweet.
yes, I saw this yesterday.
Did you
That's
see
right.
did you see me getting accused of being a pedophile yesterday?
And
Yeah.
like, what were they? They were like, oh yeah, she's like, must be. The numbers kept going further apart. So it's like,
I
oh yeah,
kept getting
she's
older
this
and
like
older.
40
Mhm.
year old
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Oh
And
my!
I'm just like,
I
dude,
think at the end of it, I was 40 and he was 15 at the end of it.
sure,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
it
didn't
was
this
pretty
is
realize
good.
until
about
you said that
SOCDEM
that was
left,
actually
right?
you on Twitter. I
Yeah.
didn't realize
That
they were
was
talking
me.
about you until just now.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh,
Um,
that's crazy! Oh my, Twitter is so
so
cringe. Oh
so
my goodness.
he's 23 and I'm 26, but at the end of
Yeah, I
it
was
he
gonna
was
say, isn't
15
he in
and I
his
was
20s?
40. Yeah. So I've been getting called a child
Goddamn.
groomer and a pedo all day, so that's been fun. But I think the more
Jesus.
like the more pertinent thing like was this idea that being horny on main makes you a sex pest, right? So the interaction that happened was someone was complimenting the choker that SDL was wearing, and then someone says that choker is really cute, and someone else goes, "Oh yeah, it is. Do you want me to ask him where he got it?" And that was screenshot and that was put out, and that was said that it was sex pestery because it was too
So
horny.
Weird.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, whenever the left has just decided being horny is now evil and like it should be removed completely.
Yeah.
For
I don't
like
know, but that's
for
been my
Yeah.
experience pretty
There's a lot
consistently.
to unpack
Or
there.
people that like are lobbing these accusations. I just want to ask, like, sincerely ask them, like, hey, given that like you are this bastion of leftist ideals and pushing forward, the progressive leftist ideology, what have you done in your real life to actually, do activism or promote these things forward? Or is your activism confined to the realm of Twitter and harassing people in almost like a weird evolution of stan wars, of like, I stand this one person versus another person, and it becomes less about like what you feel would be an ideal political system, an ideal social system, and is more about, oh well, this person doesn't like this person, so fuck them, I'm gonna like be a good stan and like try to bring them down and like get my punch in. It's
I mean,
just pathetic and
do you want the answer to that?
stupid.
Because the answer is they've done
Parasocial.
literally nothing.
Oh yeah, no, that's
99% of them, nothing.
that's
You know
like
what?
it's
Nuclear take. These people don't even go out and vote. Like I would be
Voting is
surprised.
bourgeois liberal nonsense.
Yeah, like
That's right.
two
That's
2
right.
weeks I'm gonna say voting is bourgeoisie, and you should be sent to the gulag for that. I'm calling it.
So
Yeah, they're like, oh, participate in democracy, guillotine.
watch
Yep.
out telling people to go to gulag because it could be horny gulag and you could be sexually harassing
Oh,
someone
yeah,
if you say that, so be very careful.
Damn,
Sure.
I just
Could be
became a
horny.
sex pest.
Right.
Oh no, my career's
Just
over.
became a sex pest.
Yes,
Oh,
I've
no.
also heard this.
Oh god.
let's go to Lyra.
Yeah, this whole conversation is like kind of like bringing up some like angry feelings I get about like honestly anyone who gets like I remember aristocracy put this earlier as getting mad at the wrong people, because like with what you were just talking about like all the Twitter drama, sometimes I think, should I start a Twitter? And then this happens and I'm just like, maybe I should stay away. but it's like how everyone like and all these leftists were like attacking you for like both being very vocal about your political stances and sexualizing yourself at the same time, and how they pretty much like got mad at you and got all these things about you, and it makes me super angry because it's like we're getting mad at the wrong people here. Well, I don't know, but on the left, we often get mad at the wrong people. And I think this is an issue that comes up very often, particularly in women's spaces. And like this may feel like a bit of a reach, but I'm about to like connect this to intersectionality for a bit. Think back to 1920. That was when white women got to vote. White women got to vote. People like to say, wow, Susan B. Anthony, what a queen. She went for women's vote. Susan B. Anthony was racist as fuck. Okay, she didn't want me to have rights. And a lot of times, like they would be like, women would be like, oh hey, we're women, so you should respect us. But like, hey, give us our rights before you give those black women their rights because they're subhuman anyway. It comes from like a place of like not recognizing intersectionality, and like also I also like it stems from like this huge desire of people to like compete for validity or for relevance, to be like, oh well, you're fighting so hard to be heard in all these political spaces, and then when a sex worker comes up and you somehow feel like, well, I should have more reason to speak than this sex worker, so then you start like getting mad at the sex worker instead of the issue at heart here. We're getting mad at the wrong people. It's like, why are you getting mad at them? They're just doing their thing. And like to kind of like connect this back to Twitch, I get very pissed whenever I see like women or streamers or like men also, and whenever I see anybody goes, man, I'm so sick of all these sex workers that are coming on Twitch, they're sexualizing themselves, and then all the trolls leave their chat and come to mine and ask me for my OnlyFans, and I just wish all those sex workers would stop coming to Twitch. I think that is such a shit take, and it's so fucked up, and like you're getting mad at the wrong person, because sex workers have a right. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, babe. Yeah. No.
But I get so angry when people get mad at these. I'm like, she can have a hot tub stream. She can sexualize herself. I'm like, why are you blaming this other person, this sex worker, for doing their thing, for advertising their business? Support businesses. Come on. Why are you getting mad at this streamer for doing their thing? When you should be mad at the trolls who are being assholes. You should be mad at the trolls. You should be mad at Twitch not doing enough to like stop all these trolls from sexually harassing every woman that they come across. That's who you should be mad at, not at Amaran for, doing a couple of squats facing the camera backwards. You shouldn't be mad at her. You should be mad at the trolls who can't control themselves. So it's like, whenever things like this could happen, it's like, because like, okay, and like women, and like a lot of big female streamers do this too, and like they're doing it because like women have a hard time on Twitch. I know how many of you think that, oh, Twitch is so easy for girls, if they just show their titties they're gonna get all that's not true at all. Okay, that's not true at all. You're vastly overestimating how generous Coomers are, let me just say. But like it's like they get so defensive against sex workers and people who like dress provocatively, because they already feel like that they're already competing for their own validity. So they're just like, well, now I gotta compete with this person. What I'm doing is like, you kind of like feel like, well, what I'm doing should be accepted way before they do that. So then you start attacking the wrong person, and it's so counterintuitive, and it's so it's so backwards. It's like, please stop doing that. It's so dumb, okay? Attack the source, okay? Don't get mad at the wrong people, because it's not everyone's fault. I promise you. You're getting mad at the wrong person. We need to think more about intersectionality when it comes to the left. That's
John?
one of our
And
biggest problems.
John?
It's not even that like people will often be negative about it. It's often that they'll disguise it as being positive. I've had people tell me, because they assume that I'm a cis female, they tell me, oh, I'm so glad that you're not like those other girl streamers who try to use their titties to get followers. They use it as a compliment.
I hate that so much.
And in reality, I'm just like, dude, I'm dysphoric as fuck. Like, can you please stop for 2 minutes, like thinking about titties? Like, the very fact that you're thinking about titties right now and trying to use the lack of titties as a compliment means you're thinking about titties.
or
Yeah.
just like trying to say like, oh no, you're not one of those girls, and it's like, we're all fucking women, by the way,
Yeah.
and like, who gives a shit what they decide to use the platform for? Clearly there's a market for it. Clearly, if they're on here and they're seeing success for it, and maybe they're getting money for it, clearly they're doing it well. That's like if you were any other small business or any other industry, and you find a new marketplace on which to sell your product. Why wouldn't you? If there's
Yeah,
clearly
like, support
demand
local
for it.
businesses. They're doing their
But-
thing.
and, like,
Why are you mad at
And
them?
I know people think they're giving us a compliment when they're saying like, oh, but you aren't just out there like showing your tits or just whatever doing.
You're one of the good
hot tub.
ones.
Yeah, as if
You're a good
that's a
one.
fucking compliment, because what that tells me is like, oh, I see. So you don't actually view us on the same level, and you're judging people simply for existing and using their bodies differently. Those are still women. And what you're doing is trying to essentially like pit us against each other, or deem one as like the righteous good and one that is like the heathen. And that just tells me that like you don't respect women, and that's a real big bummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
And the
don't know if you
funniest
guys are
part
familiar.
is that they'll.
Oh, I was
Sorry, go
just gonna
ahead,
say real
Jared.
quick that that's called the Madonna whore complex,
Yep.
and it's used to essentialize women and to assign us roles as like mother or caregiver, or like wife, mother, caregiver, or slut, essentially sexual object, woman to be sexualized. So that's a very common noted phenomenon, and it's called the Madonna whore complex.
Mhm.
Yeah. What I was just gonna say is that like the funniest part about like these people who would be like, "Oh, you're one of the good ones," or like try to compliment you by saying, "Oh, you're not showing your boobies out there. You're so much integrity. Wow." Hand clap. The funniest part is that they'll give you all those compliments and then go subscribe to the sex worker or go watch porn. So it's like how Mary put it the other day, they're jacking off with the right hand and pointing with the other one. Like there's like oh,
Yep.
oh, you're so great for like not indulging in all these things. Meanwhile, they give all their money to the other person. So it's like it's this weird like crisscross.
I've had the same
Okay.
person compliment me for like, oh, I loved how much substance is in your channel, whatever, and then later like ask for nudes. And I'm like, you just showed your entire asshole. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted.
Like, you wanted to see my asshole, and yet now I have seen yours. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try to engage with Merrick a little bit on this topic. So this is a long time ago, but we've kind of like worked our way back around. So you know how it works. So you were talking about like normalizing women's bodies on stream, right?
Yeah.
Are hot tub streamers actually normalizing women's body? Or are they taking advantage of the taboo of not seeing certain body parts, right? Of people showing more skin.
I don't. Okay, so I think I object to the framing of this question, and I don't think you meant it in a bad way. I think that the normalization of something encompasses more than. I think that there are multiple parts to normalizing something. So I think that you can do hot tub streams where you could normalize it. And I think that you could also do hot tub streams where you kind of lean into the taboo and you take advantage of it. I think it depends on how you package it and the way you present it. So this is also something that I've thought about and I've talked a lot about. And one of my super hot spicy takes that people got real mad at me about was that I think that sex work can be, I think it can be anti-patriarchal. So, and then this is something that like people are like, what do you mean that it fights patriarchy? Like you're literally just giving men what they want. So what I mean by this is that I think that as sex workers, we have a set characteristics, a set of characteristics that people expect from us, right? So I went on Vosh's stream the other day. Does everyone here know Vosh?
Yeah.
Okay. So Vosh is a pretty big content creator, and he doesn't really talk about sex work stuff at all. He doesn't really. He never talks about this stuff. So it's a completely different audience than my audience. And I went on and I spoke the way I'm speaking now. And we just talked. And there were a lot of comments where people were like, wow, I feel like a piece of shit because I thought she was going to be different. I didn't think she was going to be able to speak in that manner. I'm really surprised. Now I feel kind of bad. And there were a lot of comments like that. But this is good. So you guys are shaking your head, but this is good, because what this is people engaging with a negative stereotype that they felt and that they held, and then realizing, oh wow, that's actually not good. That's a caricature. That's a stereotype that I've been living with. And so we as sex workers, people speak down to me constantly. People condescend to me all the time. When I've gotten in trouble for a lot of jokes on Twitter because people were like, she's not actually smart enough to be making that joke. She must be serious and actually be saying this terrible thing. And it's gotten me into a ton of hot water. Because I mean, I've actually seen people write that out. She can't, maybe she's saying that, but I don't think she's probably not that smart. So like, these are a series of stereotypes that we have to combat, right? So I think that if you do a hot tub stream and you talk about something serious, or you present yourself in a way that is outside of the expectations of sex work, if you talk about the way in which we engage with women's bodies, and you do a series of other steps, yeah, I think that you can be helping to normalize things, and to normalize women's bodies. But I think if you do a hot tub stream, where, I don't know, I mean, if you kind of like lean into the idea that, oh no, this is naughty, this is forbidden, like, yeah, you might just be taking advantage of it.
Is it wrong? Well, so, and I'm just trying to understand your thinking here. Excuse me. Is it wrong for women to lead into it? What do you think? Like rather than doing that work of normalizing women's bodies, is it wrong for them to just lean into it?
No, because not everyone's fight is my fight.
Hmm.
My fight is that we normalize things. This is the vision that I want to see for the world. But the vision that I want to see for the world is not the responsibility of anyone else. And I think the way you engage with your sexual presence, the way you engage with how you would like to be perceived, that's a very personal thing that it's not my place to tell any other woman how to have that relationship with herself and how to have that relationship with the people around her. I think this comes back to feminism, right? You don't have to be a trad wife, and you don't have to advocate for sex work empowerment. I think that we live in a capitalist society in which there are a lot of coercive elements, and if you do not have the political consciousness that, say, any of the women on this panel have, that's you're not required to have that. You don't have to have an ideological goal behind everything that you do. If you just need to fucking get by, you just need to fucking get by. And you're not my enemy for that. I am your ally in that.
Yeah.
Even more, if a woman wants to sexualize herself, she should be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, if she wants to lean into the bimbo thing, I am fighting for her right to do that.
Nine Tails. Yeah, good. You muted yourself. Good. All right. So, okay.
Prime, I actually.
You gotta go. Yeah, I know. Thank you for being here, Iris.
Okay. See you, Prime. See you, everyone.
Bye,
Bye,
Eris.
Eris.
And Merrick, fuck all the bullies, okay? You're amazing. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much. All right.
I also have like a question if we're not moving on from this topic.
I wanted to finish what I was doing with Merrick, and then we'll do whatever you want. Yeah. But first, I'll say hi to Ninetails. Hello, Ninetails. How are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, thanks for coming through. I really appreciate it.
Sorry I'm so late.
Oh yeah, no sweat. So okay, yeah, Merrick. Um, so like the incentives that people were discussing previously, the incentives structure. Like, yeah, I think that's definitely certainly a real thing, right? Like watching uh, those hot tub streams. I actually don't do it very often. You have to take my word for that. But when I did do it the other day, I was like amazed. I was amazed, right? With like the number, this one woman, the number of followers she gets. Like, I'm lucky if I get like 50 followers a stream, right? In 8 hours of content, she got 5,000. I'm lucky if I get a 1,000 subs a month. She got that in 4 hours. It's like,
Yeah.
You
uh,
should
Get
get
your
a hot
bag.
tub.
no, I mean, clearly I know clearly I got
You
the
should
wrong
shoot this from
meta.
your bath. Shoot this from your bathtub.
I'm like,
Make
I'm gonna
yourself
go get a hot
bubble
tub right
bath.
now. Shit.
Yeah, I know, I'm serious. Like, if that's what you want to do, like, hey, like, that's the meta, right? That's how you
Yeah, it is
win
meta.
on Twitch. And so, like, is it that they'll exist? So I mean, Merrick, is it the existence of these women, right? Leaning into this, right? Does that actively hurt other women on the platform, right? Like Lyra is talking about like the pressure that she felt in Eris before her, right? That, you know, if I just did these things, then I'd be far more successful, right? Like, it's the easy button here, right? And like would Twitch be better without those people here?
Twitch ain't much, so I don't think so. I don't think it's gonna be much different anyways.
You could say
So,
better, like it'd be better for specific people, but not for
but
those women.
but it would be worse for other people.
Yeah, it
I
depends on
think
how you
when
qualify
you
it.
talk about
Yeah.
a financial incentive structure, as much as I want to wave that off, I would be remiss to ignore that. That is correct. There is a financial incentive for that's what people are interested in, and if you want to make a fuck ton more money, that's what you could do. However, something to note is that I think when we talk about things like this, we kind of leave out that the market for sex work is so completely oversaturated that there's absolutely no guarantee that just because you're getting naked or just because you're showing more skin online that you'll actually end up making more money. So I was in sex worker Twitter for quite a bit before I got onto political Twitter. I didn't make shit from sex worker Twitter. It's you have to find a way to stand out, and a lot of how I sell now is through my personality. Um, and it was only once I started getting more notoriety and getting more known through like a lot of mainstream Twitter that I ended up having more people sub to my OnlyFans. But before, when I was like just on Facebook or I was on Instagram, like I was making like $1,400 a month, $1,500 a month, and that was my only source of income. I was fucking struggling, and I had 15,000 followers on Instagram. It didn't mean shit. Um,
Sex
and
is hard.
sex work is it's pretty fucking cutthroat, to be perfectly honest. So could you just throw in a bikini and maybe get a ton of followers? Maybe, but maybe not. There is a lot of personality that goes into it. There's a lot of you know, there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it. I think Eris brings a lot of personality to her content. Lyra, I think that you also, from what I have seen so far, bring a lot of personality into when you're talking. You're very animated. You're very passionate. I can tell that you actually care about the underlying message of what you're saying, and that's attractive to people. It is. So I think that yeah, you could say that there's definitely a little bit of an incentive there, but you could also make that like, should girls be allowed to get plastic surgery? Because it might incentivize other women to get plastic surgery so that they can compete with them. So should we allow that? Because well then those women who enhance their appearance through that, well, they're going to get more male attention. We can't have that, can we? Because that might put pressure on other women to do the same thing. So this is kind of like, you can make this argument for a lot of things, and I just don't I don't know that taking away people's ability to engage in this sort of behavior on this platform is worth the trade-off of potentially making some people feel a little bit less uh, uh, almost salty in a way. But not that either of you feel salty, but I mean that's kind of the thing, right? Is you're like, oh, well, I could be making all this money, but I don't want to do this thing. Well, I mean, then find something else that works for you. You don't have to do the thing if you don't want to do it. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I think that's a really good answer. That last part, I thought was absolutely perfect, and that we wouldn't limit other people from those from other activities in other parts of life. So why would we do that here? Why shame these women? They're using the tools that society has given them. So many doors are closed off to women, right? And so if you're going to use these tools, if this is what society says is available to you, I guess, and use that to your fullest. But then I guess we shouldn't shame them, because not everyone will take that choice. But okay, let's get to some other people. So Johnny, you had your hand up. All right, and then we'll go to Lyra.
I wanted to push back a little bit on even the idea that being a more sexualized streamer makes you higher in the meta. Like, there is a metaphor there is a meta for sexual Twitch streamers, certainly, because Twitch is a live streaming platform. I think that people tend to forget that. I don't even stream games. I've never streamed games. Twitch is a very well integrated OBS compatible live streaming platform. It just happened to be marketed at some point for just games. And so there's going to be people doing all sorts of things, ballet for one thing, and just as skimpy clothes as anything that you would see on a more sexualized Twitch streamer. But anyway, I'm struggling to find any top Twitch streamer graphics or lists, compiled lists, or anything, top Twitch streamers from the last 3 or 4 years that has more than, and I'm looking at like streamers who make the most in ads, things like that. I'm struggling to find more than one female at a time on these lists. I really am. So Twitch meta is different in different places. We have our own. We exist in politics. Twitch. A lot of us, like, these metas are bubbles, and just because you're doing okay in one bubble doesn't mean that you would do okay if somebody else's bubble wasn't there, basically. And that's sort of the problem with people thinking that sexualized Twitch streamers like have it easy or something. Like, it's oversaturated. It's hard to do. And you have to still have a streaming personality, like, listen to Merrick talk like you're competing with Merrick right now.
Yeah. I have a friend that I recently made on Twitch who apparently is going to start hot tub streaming. And I'm really curious as to how far she'll get with that. So I'll have to wait and see. I've been talking to her. She like, I certainly don't blame her for taking that action. It can be quite lucrative, but as you said, like, you have to have that person. I totally agree with you, Merrick. Like, you have to have that personality, because being pretty gets you so far. It will get you views, 100%, absolutely. Just like in any part of life, being more attractive can get you through the door. But to actually keep people engaged, right, for a long amount of time, people want to be in part of your community, you have to be more than that. So, yeah.
It also gets you a lot of hate too. You have to have really thick skin to be a sex worker, especially if you're confident and you own it. Oh my God. The amount of shit I see about how ugly and disgusting I am all day, every day online. I mean, people are fucking mean. They're really mean.
Nasty.
So fucking nasty, yeah.
Yeah.
And one other thing before I go to Lyra, one other thing. And I wish Eris had stuck around, because I was going to ask this in front of her. We had an argument on Saturday. So we had a discussion on Hot Tub Streamer Saturday. And a lot of it centered around, are hot tub streamers sex workers to begin with? So me and Mixed Vivian Wolf said absolutely that was the case. That Yeah, especially if your intention is to actually titillate, right? For exchange. So, what's your opinion on this, Merrick? Like, you've been using the word sex worker, the phrase sex worker, to refer to these women, but do you think that they all count as sex workers?
Yes. Yes. So the way that we understand the term sex work it's an umbrella term that encompasses wait, did I say this earlier? Am I just repeating myself?
No, he didn't say.
I'm sorry. Okay, cool. Sorry. I said this on an earlier stream. So sex work is an umbrella term. So when you say sex work, like a lot of older people especially will think that you mean a full service worker, but this is not how we understand the term anymore. Now when we say sex worker, we mean stripper, we mean porn actress, we mean someone who works a phone sex hotline, someone who maybe even runs like a lewd OnlyFans. Like Kiwi Sunset is a really great example. She has an OnlyFans. She doesn't get naked. She doesn't do porn. She does implied nudity. And that girl makes so much money, it makes my fucking head spin. That she's a sex worker.
Which one was that? I didn't catch the name.
consider
What was her name?
her name is Kiwi Sunset.
Oh no,
and this
I
is for
just
science
missed it.
purposes,
I'm sorry.
sure.
That's my fault. I
Just
it's
for
research.
research, right?
No. I'm just. All right, I'm sorry.
For
Never mind. Never mind.
He's
Sorry.
like, can you send me a link
No.
later? for
I'm
research
sorry.
purposes?
I was just okay. Never mind.
Research.
You're fine. You're fine. Yes, I think that if you are using your body, you're using your sex appeal to generate money, to generate revenue, you are a sex worker.
Totally agree. This is the argument that me, Mixavine Wolf, we had. It was like 2 hours we were arguing with people on this very definition that people didn't seem to understand. It was. I wish you were there. We could have definitely used your backup. Okay, let's go to Lyra.
Yeah, just want to say that I totally agree with, like, if you sell sex in any capacity, you are a sex worker. Like literally, like not every hot tub streamer is a sex worker, but like if they got they got some cleavage out, they're doing the poses. Hey, that's sex work. But like if I sit in the tub in the scuba gear, am I a sex work? So if you sell sex in any capacity, you're a sex worker. But other than that,
So are
there were
Hooters
two
girls
things
sex
that I
workers?
want to do. I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Are
you
Hooters
say that
girls
again?
sex workers? Is I wanted to. After you get done, I'd love to know if people think Hooters girls are sex workers.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hooters girls.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Hmm.
I
Your
think
two
so.
things. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, sorry, it's okay. But yeah, so two things I wanted to touch on. One of them being is that, like, I talked a lot about intersectionality so far. And so everyone in the audience, if you leave here with one thing, I want you to leave with destroying the notion in your head that sex work is easy. Because I assure you it is not. And you are vastly overestimating how generous Coomers are with their money. Because if you're dressed provocatively, if you're a sex worker, you'll get a lot of views, you may get a lot of follows, but that doesn't mean you're going to make a lot of money. It also doesn't mean that those viewers are going to come back, because as Merrick said earlier, I mean, the sex work industry is very cutthroat and it is very competitive. So just because a lot of people like to say, oh, Twitch is so easy for girls, it's so easy to be famous on Twitch as a girl. Is definitely not, because look at the list of top streamers, Amaranth ain't on there. Okay, it's very hard for sex workers to like make a lot of like money on any platform. I think, I mean, some are easier than others. I mean, OnlyFans was like revolutionary for sex workers, but like it's still not easy. So please stop thinking in your head that it's so easy for sex workers, because I assure you it is not. And like, even on the other side of things, even if they are making a lot of money, think of all the death threats, all the rape threats, all the revenge porn that they are getting made against them. Yeah, please stop thinking it's easy. Please stop thinking that they they're taking an easy way out, because I assure you it's not as easy as you think. But for the other thing, which was kind of like another a question that I wanted to raise to the panel, was that we got on this topic, and it was a little bit more. This topic was a little bit more entwined with like, how should Twitch go about subjects like these? And so a question I would like to pose to the panel is, what do you think do you think that Twitch might be successful or at least it may help everybody out if they kind of take the YouTube approach. And what I mean by that is like there's a YouTube for kids and there's a YouTube where like almost everything is fair game. But on YouTube for kids, they're a lot more strict with what they allow on there. So do you think Twitch should do something similar? Should there be a Twitch for kids and then a Twitch where everything is fair game? Do you think that would help?
That would have to be okay. So there has been whisperings of like people like SAG-AFTRA like being interested in Twitch. It's probably not going to happen because Amazon is Amazon. But like as far as the level of vetting that you would have to have in order to ensure that a live stream children's program in this day and age, that a live stream specifically marketed children's program is going to be appropriate, you would probably have to have a lot more credentials as far as who can become a streamer of that caliber. You would probably have to have like, it probably wouldn't be as easy as being on YouTube, because to be live on something that is specifically marketed for kids, like there's all kinds of like loopholes that you would have to go through in order to get that even half credible. And I think that a lot of that would have to do with like hiring actual actors. It would probably be Twitch produced. It would probably not be, if they did that, it would probably be people chosen by Twitch, not people who just randomly want to do it.
So I
Oh, well, I'm not
here.
Oh, sorry.
I used to work at Google, and I have friends that are still at YouTube, and so a lot of them are tasked with similar projects where they're trying to essentially not only weed out content that would be inappropriate for children, but programming it into AIs and other languages and programs to identify it without the need for human intervention or like a human check on it, which is inherently like damn near impossible, because so much of what is deemed inappropriate is contextual. So I don't know. I think that could be a potential solve, but it would be more of a solve in terms of mitigating risk from a legal standpoint, I think, than it would actually be to improve the user experience of Twitch as a platform. So because I think just having to segment out all of the content for child friendly versus not, especially when you consider that like the what is it, the demographic for most Twitch viewers is men age 15 to 25. It might be tricky, because are we going to say then that like anyone that swears on something is not child friendly? That's going to eliminate a significant portion of like the gaming streamers, because I mean, if you've played one video game with teenage boys, you know that like there's going to be some swearing. But it's an interesting question, and it plays into, I think, the same sort of conundrum that even TV, like television broadcasters and other content distributors are facing, where it's like, well, how do we deem something not child friendly? Because someone could even argue that most video games that people like stream regularly are certainly not child friendly.
Yeah.
So how do you
YouTube for
segment it
Kids
out?
has a lot of these same issues. That's true.
I would say, and I will go to Pastel, and then we'll maybe check in Ninetales if she has anything to say. I would say this would not be the great idea. I've followed YouTube and how it's handled its algorithm, right? And how it deals with content creators, and it's not great. There's not really good options out there, honestly. Maybe Facebook Gaming is better. Who knows? I don't. But like, it's just not great. And the way it treats the kids creators is rough. You gotta be extremely strict with your community. They keep changing the requirements, right? This is another thing that YouTube does. It loves changing
a lot.
It loves changing the requirements and then not informing people, but then punishing them any which way, right? At least Twitch fucking notifies you of a Twitch TOS change, right? But they literally don't do that on YouTube, right? Like
YouTube leaves you out to dry.
Or changing
They'll be
the
like, we sent you
algorithm,
an email, and then you'll be like,
Yeah,
Like, oh no.
and it's actually really really bad, and it's worse for the kid streamers. And then, so talking about doing this on Twitch, the thing is, Twitch isn't YouTube in terms of size and scale, right? Like, if you start segmenting that, right, first of all, I think a kid streamer not gonna make any money. They work on donations, right? So like, so the
Unless they have mom and dad's credit card, yeah.
yeah, like no one would be like no one would do that. Like unless they had some sort of deal. I guess to Maddie's point, like unless they had some sort of deal with Twitch to provide them with some sort of income, like some sort of guaranteed income, they're not going to do that. It would just not work. There's so much more money to be made on the regular quote unquote anything goes, but I mean extremely restricted, still extremely restricted Twitch, right? There's so much more money there because that's where people have disposable income. So all around, I don't think that would work.
Because not like Twitch pays you, YouTube at least pays you.
Yeah.
Unless the only potential revenue structure that I could imagine would happening is if parents wanted to pay specifically for a kids friendly service, like so that they could more as like, hey, we're paying for peace of mind. But if they did that, they would have to be damn sure that every single piece of content on that kids friendly version of the platform is truly quote unquote kid friendly. And I mean, I just know if I were a corporate lawyer and I was writing the contract for this, that is a very lofty goal, and it opens you up to a lot of potential conflict, especially because the opinion of what is kid friendly or not is not evenly
universal,
shared among
Not
all.
universal. Someone made a good point in chat. Hold on. So I'll go to them and then I'll go to Pastel, then Johnny. Sorry, Pastel, then Ninetales, then Johnny. But someone made a really interesting point. Imagine streaming for fun. How horrible. Okay, I think that's a good point. There's some people who stream just for fun and just 2 kids. Sure, I guess it's a possibility. But that's what you're streaming for, is for fun, right? And not expecting any remuneration. And even smaller streamers appreciate subs, right? Even ones who like don't do this for anything else, right? They want to get affiliate and get something out of it, right? So even if they're not trying to make it a career, that's tough. And to tell people, it's labor, right? So some people will do it just cause, I want to hang out younger kids, I guess adults, like I just want to hang out with your, I don't know. All right, so I think it's going to get weird.
Hold on, wait a minute. Now we're getting into territory of people who just want to hang out with kids for fun. And I don't know.
I don't know how this will work.
Granted, hey, listen, I've also been to barbecues where I'm like, these adults are lame. I'm going to go jump on the trampoline with the kids. That's fun. Okay, so let's not paint with too broad of strokes.
That's 5 minutes on a trampoline. That's very different than 7 hours on a computer in front of a bunch of children. These are very different things.
That is totally fair.
Let's go to Pastel, Ninetales, Johnny. And we have another question that's also, because this question that the topic 1 was not sex worker focused. It just kind of drifted in that direction. This wasn't topic. But topic 2 that I created was sex worker focused, so we can all move on to that too and still have similar conversations. But anyway, let's go to Pastel Dallas.
So, like, something that I am kind of confused on is the fact that, and I haven't read the TOS in a while, so maybe I am like unaware, but it seems that streamers are able to talk about pretty like sexual things or like graphic things somewhat on streams, but like showing any part of your body if you're not doing a hot tub stream is again like an instant ban, which I find really interesting as to why Twitch more moderates how you look and then less things that you say, especially now that this original topic was about the new rule they're implementing. Like, this is a rule they literally just implemented where they're now like actually going to regulate what you can and can't say off platform, which I think is like really strange how this like dichotomy exists of how at some point they didn't care about what you said or did, but if you dressed a certain way on stream, it's like, nope, it's over. You got to get banned. You're never allowed to stream again. Which is a really weird dichotomy that exists on Twitch. Because like, I can talk on stream about like late at night just about like random things I've done in my past and about like sex work and all that, and then like, but if I were to like show like a little bit of my body, it's like, nope, you're banned. You're not near a hot tub, insta banned.
So I think so something someone reminded me, they're talking about like kids, right? Because Lyra, you got us focused on like specifically children and how like Twitch interacts with them, right? And we all interact with them. But someone like helped remind me that this isn't about the kids. It's actually not about the kids. Are kind of incidental. It's advertisers,
kids.
right? Yeah, fuck them
Right.
kids.
Fuck them kids.
Fuck them kids.
But
Fuck them kids.
it's advertisers. That's what the Twitch is worried about, right? Less like the kids will see
Yeah.
a boob, right? Like, sure. I mean,
That
but,
brand
like,
safe image.
yeah, it's brand safe
Oh
for the
no,
money.
not a
That's where it
boob.
comes from. Like they don't. Again, kids don't even, and kids don't pay. They don't contribute, right? It's like the 18 and over is any which way, right? And that's the valuable demographic. And you want to be able to grab advertisers. Advertisers only care about the kids, and so far in the fact that they will ask their parents to buy them their products, right? But beyond that, like all of this whole conversation, right? We've kind of been off kilter because we haven't been talking about the advertisers. So, Ninetales and then Johnny.
Okay. Yeah. So gonna like for one thing, I don't actually think nudity is inherently sexual at all. I want to differentiate somebody getting horny from something versus somebody making content designated to get someone horny. I think that there's two different things there. Excuse me. Yeah, somebody said that like sex work is saturated. And I would say that like we need like sex workers in general need more options. And that's why like even just being on Twitch to promote your stuff is really important. And from the sex workers I tend to hang out with online, it seems like Twitch really hates like actually pointing people to where you're located as a sex worker. So at least on the streams I've been on where they're sex workers, they try not to talk about the sites that they're on. And to me, that's like kind of sad. Like, like, oh no, somebody's going to figure out a porn site exists. And then like for content restrictions, I think it's all pretty common sense, especially when you follow this model. Obviously they're going to like sexualize people's bodies. And like, even as far as like the body goes, I actually think it's still absurd that we don't allow like female boobs on stream, because like what's the difference between a man's chest? It's literally like in the eye of the beholder. And I think if people were normalized this, it wouldn't be like that.
My nipples are intensely erotic. Speak for yourself. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I mean, I hadn't seen nipples for a long time, and then I saw a lady's boob, and all of a sudden I've converted to Satanism. I didn't do my homework anymore.
Are you a
And I
lesbian
broke
now, too?
curfew. Yeah, no, and I'm a Satanist lesbian. Yeah.
It's kind of like that time that I smoked one marijuana and now I'm gay. It's just a
Right.
shame how it works that way.
Right.
Crazy pipeline.
But even
Crazy
then,
pipeline, that's
The
right.
tits to Satan pipeline.
no, that's awesome. No, that's the pipeline I want to be involved in. That sounds like a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But Maddie, and to Ninetales, even then you're falling into that trap again, thinking that any of this is about the children. None of it's about the children. It's about the advertisers.
Well, I'm aware.
Yeah.
I just was answering like somebody said like the where is the line thing, and I was like, well, we kind of already have a line.
I mean, like, but as someone who's been on the advertiser side as well, like a lot of it too, I mean, it still stems from these bullshit societal quote unquote norms, because that's often how advertisers will deem what is safe for their brand to be associated with and what isn't. It's like it still stems from that same bullshit thing. And luckily, there has been some evolution in that opinion of advertisers. That's why plenty of advertisers were more than willing to be associated with a show like Game of Thrones, despite the very adult themes and content and whatever that you would see on the show. But as public opinion evolves, thus advertisers follow, though of course they tend to be a bit more conservative, because at the end of the day they are just trying to protect their brand. So it's tough, because a lot of advertisers also, at the end of the day, as long as they're making money, they don't care. Like, as long as like even with if there's any sort of blowback, they are okay still spending money to advertise on a platform so long as the benefits outweigh the potential or perceived risk. So if they're still generating revenue and see this as a meaningful revenue stream, and they're generating a decent ROI, they could give a shit. That's why you see these supposedly like progressive or wholesome brands still advertising on like fucking Fox News, because they're still seeing money from it. They're still generating revenue, and that's capitalism, baby.
Let's go to Johnny.
Oh man. Really quick aside, but like there is one meta in Twitch that I know is actively attempting to be kid friendly, and that's like the intersection of the educational and family friendly tags. I actually stream in the educational tag a lot, and I have been asked explicitly by people like, hey, can you do a few streams where you don't curse and you like don't have any chat on the screen or anything in case they curse, so that we can like show it to our kids. It's just a little aside, but it does exist in some capacity. As far as the actual apparent topic that I walked way late into, I think that the idea that Twitch is going to punish you for something that you did not on the platform reminds me of being a cheerleader in high school, and how even if you weren't in uniform and all that kind of stuff, you still had to be like, if you were at the mall and you like got caught stealing or something, you were going to be kicked off the cheer team, and it's that kind of thing. It's like a moral accountability thing. And the reason I think about that is because on Twitch in particular, unlike a lot of people on YouTube, because we're always doing this on the fly, we're all doing it live. Most of us aren't playing a character. I know there are exceptions, there are notable exceptions, but most of us are ourselves on stream. And so the people who Twitch most want to associate with their brand tend to be those people who are themselves, but also very unproblematic. Think of Pokemon, think of those kinds of people. And so when they're building their brand Twitch, I'm sure they're thinking, oh, we want to have like a relatively mild, socially acceptable base of people who are the face of the front of our homepage and stuff. I think that has a lot to do with these ideas that like you won't be able to wear skimping clothing on stream unless you're covering yourself with water, essentially, and the fact that they're going to be policing people's activities off of stream. Like all of that leads me to believe that they are setting themselves up for a long-term like branding goal of being almost television like. Does that make sense?
I can see that.
Mm.
Yeah, I can see that. What you're talking about.
I gotcha.
Okay, so I figured we probably move on to our second topic. I just want to say one thing to Lyra. Just because like Amaranth is not like a top streamer in terms of numbers, she makes a shitload of money. She makes a shitload of money.
I mean, yeah, but like it takes a whole lot more than having your boobies out and being sexual to make it to the top.
No,
I just meant that because like a lot of people think it's super easy for women, and yet women are like continuously disenfranchised. That's my favorite word, disenfranchised on Twitch.
No, okay, yeah, so yeah, she no, yeah, you're right. Okay, I agree, and she has a lot of personality. So, and she worked really hard to get to where she's at. Okay, let's move on to the second topic, which was actually sex worker focused. We kind of just drifted here. I'm pointing at you, Merrick. All right, so she can't hear me. All right, anyway. So topic 2. I'll probably have to say it again in a second. Topic 2. There have been there have been several public figures. Oh, here she comes. Here she goes. She comes. One. Wait a minute. There you go. There you go. All right. So we're on topic 2, Merrick. There have been several public figures that have recently been accused of paying for sex, including Hunter Biden and Matt Gaetz. This issue has been ongoing one in American politics that has taken down many powerful individuals. But should that be the case? Is it ever the public's business that politicians may use the services of sex workers? What about celebrities? Beyond the actual question of the legality of the escort business, can we as a society ever move to a place where this issue won't end careers? Or is this not a desirable outcome to begin with? Okay, yeah, so we can talk about the individual situations in terms of Matt Gaetz and Hunter Biden. I don't want to get too bogged down in that because those are interesting cases, right? But like talking about the general discussion, like, yeah, should you care if your politicians use these services, right? Should that be of your concern or anyone's concern? Okay, so we'll start with Lyra.
Okay, so I think like a lot of the drama behind like public figures and like their relationship with sex and how they how it is shown to the media. I think a lot of that also stems from like the left's tendency to automatically go sex bad, sex in any capacity is bad. And so like in my personal thoughts on the matter, you know, I don't care that John F. Kennedy got a blowjob from Marilyn Monroe. I don't care that Bill Clinton cheated on his wife, and I don't care that Matt Gaetz or any politician is, you know, is hiring sex workers. I do care about the human trafficking. So I don't care that, you know, that what their sex life. I honestly could care less as long as they are doing their jobs. But I do care when they're doing something illegal. And so with Matt Gaetz, I'm way more like upset about the human trafficking part, and that's what I'm more concerned about. But I personally don't care about like the personal sex life of people. I don't care if they're hiring sex workers, you know, because I mean they're doing their jobs. The sex workers, you know. Why does associating with them automatically make that public figure, you know, a better person? You know, that's dehumanizing sex workers in itself. But you know, I digress. I'm sorry.
No problem. Pastel, and did you hear the question?
No, but I'm just assuming we're on the second topic.
Yeah.
All right. Then yeah, I know what we're talking about. Yeah. So like, I think it kind of just sucks for any Republicans because they're literally a party with like a voter base of thinking sex workers are bad, the Christian vote. So like, yeah, it probably shouldn't matter, but it sucks to them that they're pandering to the only people who actually really care. So like, you know, I don't feel bad for them that like their voters think this way. I mean, I think their voters probably shouldn't, but you know, it's the audience they want to cater to. I think they'll get the repercussions of what happens when we want to cater towards people like this. I again personally don't think there should be anything wrong with this. Unless they're like doing illegal activities like human trafficking, or if there's minors involved or anything like that. That's whenever it's like really like proof and should seriously be looked into. But yeah, like sex workers, I like the entire fact that like there are people out there who, if you hire a sex worker, they immediately think lesser of you, is insanely like crazy to me. But again, if you're the Republican Party and these are your constituents, you kind of just have to deal with that. Maybe you should like think before you act on like what your constituents are going to think as a elected politician.
Okay, let's go, Maddie.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I checked out because my fiance came in and I realized that I was hoarding the wine bottle and forgot to tell him that we had wine. So I completely forgot what the question was.
I can state the question again. There have
Sorry.
been, no problem. Topic 2. There have been several public figures that have recently been accused of paying for sex.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just needed like the beginning of the line to cue it. Okay. So, yeah, I think, well, first of all, I know that we don't want to get bogged down on these specifics of like Matt Gaetz, Hunter Biden, whatever. However, I think it's somewhat important to acknowledge that there is a difference in that with Matt Gaetz, there's the allegations of essentially like not only having sex with underage women, but also paying to have sex with underage women and transporting them across the country using campaign funds and all of that fun stuff. That I absolutely think is of public interest. I would certainly want to know if my representative or senator or anyone that represents me at any capacity was involved with something like that. But in the terms of like all the stuff with Hunter Biden, it feels so politically charged in the first place that I think it's also difficult to view it in a vacuum of, well, should we care whether or not, this guy has engaged in whatever activities? Because at the end of the day, I don't think on its own it's a deal breaker, especially if someone is forthcoming about things that they've done, and a lot of times it's no one's business. And in his case, it seems like a lot of this stuff is simply being used to try to damage his father rather than be a thoughtful critique of his behavior. So it just makes it difficult to view as like an isolated thing and speak to like a larger trend of whether or not we should care about what elected officials or the children of elected officials do in their spare time. But in Matt Gates's case, it's pretty clear cut to me, and I hope he goes to jail.
Let's go to Johnny. I'm going to save you for last, Merrick. Let's go to Johnny.
Okay. So I have come I have come over here without a lot of prep, and so I don't know the specifics of the Getz case or the Hunter Biden case. But I am going on that one of them is just trafficking. If one of them is just trafficking, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about whether or not we should judge politicians purely based on buying sex when I say this. Generally, when we think about politicians, we say things like, oh, we should hold our leaders to a higher standard. Well, generally, to me, that phrase means to punish what we would normally just scorn and sort of encourage people not to do. So why would buying sex at all be worth that scorn? I don't think it should. If you're cheating on your spouse, that's one thing, and you may not even be buying sex in that case to begin with. I do think that, if you're actively cheating on your spouse, if you're embezzling money, if you're doing, anything that is like weird, that's probably subject to public knowledge as a public figure. But buying sex in and of itself, especially if you're not a public figure, like Hunter Biden, as far as I know, is not running for anything. I thought he had a job somewhere in another country. I thought that was the whole point of all the Republicans being mad. But yeah, buying sex is not sex trafficking, obviously, if that's what we're talking about. I'm completely against it. But yeah, you do give, like I was saying with celebrities earlier, you do give up some really comfy things to be a high hierarchy public figure like a politician. And especially like your dad's the president of the United States, people are going to talk about you, but it's not the same as committing a crime. Yeah.
All right, let's go with Nine Tails.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mostly agree with what everyone's been saying. I think that when they try to say that like a public official is somehow like tarnished by using a sex work, it's just like the general stigmatization of sex work and the demonization of sex workers in general. That's coming from and contributing to. So to me, like I think it just needs to stop. It's like paparazzi shit, and it has no inherent value to like politics or anything like that.
Okay, let's go to Merrick.
So I guess I'm the dissenting voice here. If you are a politician in this country and you are not Rand Paul or Ron
Ron Johnson.
No, not Ron Johnson. If you are not Rand Paul or you are not the senator out of Portland, I believe, then if you buy from sex workers, I want your face to be everywhere. I want everyone to know that you are a fucking snake in the grass, that you are someone that votes to pass FOSTA and SESTA to fuck over sex workers so that we are pushed off of online spaces and pushed into the arms of traffickers, where many a sex worker has met their death, where many a sex worker has been driven into the arms of a pimp, which is sex trafficking. Many a sex worker has had to do outdoor sex work or in-person sex work when they never had to do that before. We have seen OD spike. We have seen people get their kids taken away. We have seen suicides. We've seen sex workers go hungry. If you voted on those bills, and you did, if you're in the Senate, if you're not Rob out of not Rob Portman, if you're not two specific senators and you hire a sex worker, I want everyone to see your face. And it's not because you hired a sex worker. It's because you're a disgusting piece of shit who doesn't care about your constituents and doesn't care about Americans and votes to fuck them over and votes to push legislation that fucks them over. And then you go and you buy their services afterwards because it's the ultimate pointing with one hand and jerking with the other, except you're fucking with our lives. So yeah, I absolutely think that this should be a huge fucking deal because my life is not collateral for you to get reelected. And I think that when we're talking about like the legislation that gets passed, these politicians do not care about the negative harms that come from bills like SISEA, which is the Stop Internet Sexual Exploitation Act. There's also the Earn It Act, and then there is FOSTA and SESTA, which is the Fight Online Sex Traffickers Act and the Stop Exploitation of Sex something,
traffic.
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So if you are voting for these laws and you are not fighting for our rights, but you are engaging in our services, I want you to be the media and the digital equivalent of taken into the town square and pelted with tomatoes.
Did you mean Ron White?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, probably. Is he out of Portland? Or Oregon?
I don't remember, but you're talking about the libertarians. You're talking about the libertarians, right?
No. Because hold on, he's not a libertarian. He's actually incredibly based and progressive.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But there's two senators. Okay, if you are a member of the House, like say, or let's say you're Matt Gaetz. Let's say you're Matt Gaetz who voted against a revenge porn law, and you're Matt Gaetz who likes to go around on the Senate floor and show pictures of girls on your phone, and you like to play a little game with everyone else in Congress where you try to hit on people. You know, and you brag about all the girls you've slept with, and you say if you have these images on your phone, you should be able to do whatever you want with them. Yeah, I think if you're going around and then getting the services of sex workers, yeah, I think absolutely everyone should know that, and I think your constituents should know that you're a slimy piece of shit who has no sort of consistent ideological foundation, and that the only thing you care about is getting reelected and playing to things that you think your voter base will reelect you for, and that you hold absolutely no, what is it? You lack the courage of your convictions, essentially. That being said, I've eaten like one half of a sandwich today, and I feel like my brain is melting. When this topic is done, may I please turn in for the night and be excused from the
Oh, yeah,
panel?
this will be the last topic. Yeah, this will be the last
Okay,
topic.
cool. Okay.
Excused.
Basically, I think if you bargain with my life for political points and then you turn around and try to get my services, I think you should be publicly shamed.
Thanks so much. Okay, yeah. All right, so open to the panel. I think it's actually super interesting. But go ahead, open to the panel.
So I think that's a really good take.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when I say like, oh, some certain things that they do in their private time is their own thing. My like exception for that, and where I don't hold consistent, is when they are a fucking hypocrite. And when they actively use their both like political, professional, personal power to demonize the very kind of sex work that they themselves will frequent and spend money on, and expect to be upheld as this moral figure and this righteous figure. I 100% agree. Especially, I feel the same way with politicians who are regular drug users, who also vote in favor of prolonging and militarizing the war on drugs. Yeah, I am 100% team reveal hypocrites for the snakes they are.
Based.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so I think you have a fascinating take there. And I think it's very interesting. So I mean, I'm torn. I'm torn because you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and that sex workers have been a political football. All right. There are certain undesirables that it's okay to like have like a one-way ratchet for like punishment, right? And so sex workers also like, for instance, pedophiles, right? Like no one ever or not pedophiles, sex offenders. Sex offenders is the word I'm looking for. Sex offenders, because no one ever says like, well, maybe we should like rethink our laws, like to make sure they actually make sense, right? That instead, you're always incentivized to up the ante in terms of like these punishments. And if you've ever like, if you're familiar with our sex offender laws, right? A lot of people who aren't sex offenders get caught up in these things, and then they're like, oh, they have to notify people like they've touched kids, you know, like it's a whole thing, right? On the other hand, I would like it to be the case, right? If we actually are sex positive, right? That there would be a day, when if this happened to come out, like the worst thing, the worst scandal would be maybe they cheated on their wife, right? And I guess maybe some voters would care about something like that, right? That would be something they would take into account, but not the fact that they decided to use these services that other people could use. Does that make sense? What I said? I hope so.
Yeah, I think it should be noted that in a perfect world, it's no one's fucking business. Like, sorry, that probably sounds a little harsh. In a perfect world, it's not our business. If a politician wants to hire the services of a sex worker, in a world where we are not discriminated against, then yeah, we shouldn't be shaming the clients of sex workers. That's definitely not something that I advocate for under the vast majority of circumstances. However, I think if you're in a position of power and you have direct control over the lives of sex workers and you choose to use your power to um, basically use us as political pawns, and not even use us as political pawns, but negatively utilize us as political pawns and treat us kind of like garbage, then yeah, that is my problem. My problem is not that you are a customer of the services, like which I feel like should be obvious because I am a sex worker, but I would like to clarify that.
I do
I worry.
like how you like.
Go ahead with
Oh,
Nine
so you
Tails.
go ahead, Nine Tails.
Yeah, Nine Tails.
I tend to worry that as far as like media outlets go, that we'll see a disproportionate coverage of like politicians who are going with trans sex workers or revealed to be gay this way, and it's going to be used as like to be weaponized against them. So I'm actually against it, even if there is like political advantageousness in the rhetoric.
Was there an advantage, Nine Tails, to respond to you? Well, like on the other end, like when before like gay marriage was like a thing here in the States, right? There was we would also do this with people who were like Republicans who were with men, right? This is a thing that happened, or not just like politicians, but also like evangelical priests. Like there's like a thing. There's like a big priest like
being caught in bathrooms,
yeah,
like
being caught in
airport
bathrooms,
with
or
it.
like being caught with men who are carrying their suitcases. Sure.
Right. Oh, this is just my friend. Oh, I'm just helping him.
Yeah.
And his mouth is on my penis.
Ted
I don't
Haggard,
think...
I think is his name. But yeah, so like, in that case, should we have revealed that those men were doing that?
I think we should never reveal any information about the sex worker in question. I think if the sex worker is trans, then that's none of our business, and the sex worker's privacy matters much more than us needing to know that they're trans. I think if it's a politician, and it's a man, and they present as being straight, and they get caught with a male prostitute, I don't want to say prostitute, I'm so sorry, of a male sex worker, that's also none of our business, because I think that the sex worker's privacy comes first. So I don't know if you guys know this, but like a few weeks back, Dan Crenshaw's account was following a sex worker on Twitter. I don't know if any of y'all saw this, but it blew up.
Yep.
It was a huge fucking deal. And what they did was they took screenshots. This guy, his name was like, he's a journalist, his name was Zachary something, and they posted screenshots, and there was the girl's face, there was the girl's name, there was the like all my links or whatever, and they were posting these screenshots and they were tagging him, and they were like, Dan Crenshaw, why do you follow this sex worker? Pretty hypocritical. And it was kind of like, can you not, like, can you blur out her information? Could you do like could you give her like a modicum of privacy, please? So I can see Nine Tails why you would be concerned about that, and that's that's actually really valid. And that wasn't necessarily something I was thinking of at first. I do think that there are kind of ways around this. I think it's important, as a way for us to advocate for ourselves and to fight for our own validity when we say, hey, look, even the people who write these laws don't think that they fucking matter, don't think that they're particularly moral. But I agree with you that first and foremost, the sex worker's privacy always needs to come first.
And yeah, like to respond to Prime, definitely I wouldn't say that like revealing what's going on with Matt Gaetz or like the churches or something like that is protected from this. Just more so like, oh, X person use like these services. Just because they're a hypocrite doesn't mean I think they should be called out. For example, like we have a double standard with like say like men who trash women, right? We don't follow them around. Well, I'll give an example like the quartering kind of like Gamergate people. We don't follow them around checking to see if they have sex with women. Yet somehow it's such a bigger deal if a transphobe has sex with a trans person. I think it's about the spectacle in that case. So in general, anyways, I lost my point actually.
So the reason why I'm asking is because I thought Merrick really brought up a good point, because at that time, these people were going around, they were causing active harm. It's not like they were simply being hypocrites, right? There are lots of people who are hypocrites about lots of things, right? But their decisions don't do active harm to individuals. So saying that gay individuals were destroying like the traditional family, right? That they were sometimes saying that they were perverts, that they were a danger to kids or something like that, right? And then eventually, basically all the arguments that they're currently using against our trans brothers and sisters, they were using against the LGBT community previously, right? And writing legislation that actually damaged that, and proposing that we amend the Constitution so that gay individuals cannot get married. So those people, right, who were doing all that in public, right, like, was it not of benefit to for society to know that they were actually engaged in this activity themselves?
So just can I go off, just so we're going off the same example, if I go off an example in my head, it's like an anti-gay politician, just keep things simple, is found going into a hotel room with just a gay guy. That could count for like the scenario I'm going to respond to with this.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say that like that act itself doesn't actually substantiate their anti-gay stance at all, so it doesn't help us understand their anti-gay stance or the weaknesses in it. Simply seeing that someone is a hypocrite isn't actually like productive in my mind as far as like representation and stuff like that goes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Lyra.
Just to like add my 2 cents to like this this topic, the scenario that we're talking about now. So like a lot of times when like these like sex scandals come up, people are like always focused on the wrong thing, I believe, because like some people are saying, oh, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe this politician was sleeping with sleeping with sex workers and prostitution. That's so crazy. But what we really should be concerned about is like that he was sleeping with underage people and the human trafficking aspect of it. And to like also tie that into what we're talking about now about like Merrick raised up a good point about how we should definitely make sure these things are known, because like we have to like it's obviously very important when like a politician who like votes for all these like restrictive and dangerous policies against like not only sex workers but LGBTQ people, gay people, also people of other races, yet they engage with like their work, how like that's very beneficial for the public to see. And then Nightails also brought up a very good PowerPoint that we shouldn't be too focused on the hypocritical part of that. Like, because that would be another situation in which we're focusing on the wrong thing. Like, we're just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this politician that hates gay people is sleeping with a gay person. Wow, so scandalous. And it's just like, well, you shouldn't care that they're sleeping with a gay person. You should care that they are actively destroying a population that they are like behind closed doors taking advantage of and benefiting off of. It's that in and of itself that is the part that we should be upset about. Like it's okay that they're having gay sex. It's okay that they're hiring sex workers. It is not okay that while they're engaging, whether they're engaging with them or not, it's not okay. Is not okay that like they're actively voting against them and putting all these policies that are like directly damaging to them and yet profiting off of them, like in the same vein. And like to kind of like broaden out this issue a lot, it's like, remember when like, I can't remember what her name, but basically some like asshole Republican who was like very racist. It was like, build the wall, you know, all Hispanic people,
All
they're
of
all
them.
rapists, they're all terrible. Yeah, like they do all that. And then she goes to a Mexican restaurant and eats there. And it's like, I mean, some people may say like, oh my God, that's so hypocritical. It's like, you should be more concerned that like, she's actively trying to destroy these people and make their lives worse, and yet is profiting off of them. And like whether or not she was eating at a Mexican restaurant, it is still a big deal that, you know, she's kind of voting for them to be deported and yet enjoying their culture at the same time. So like it may seem kind of like a nuanced thing, but I would argue that it's really not, because I mean, if we're talking about politicians here, they're here to help people. We should absolutely be upset when like they actively try to destroy people and then profit off of them in the same sentence. And I think that's what Merrick was getting at earlier when she said we should have on display the politicians who hire sex workers and yet put into place all these dangerous policies against them. But I just want to make that said.
I just want to echo, that's a really good point, is that it's not about shaming them for the act itself. Like, it doesn't help to just like turn around and slut shame someone because we don't agree with them. What it does help is calling out the hypocrisy that their behavior demonstrates and highlight why it's then so backwards and fucked up that they, in the same breath, turn around and use their power, whether it's like as an elected official or anything else, to punish people doing the exact same thing that they're doing. But yeah, no, I wrote that. That's such an important distinction.
It's like they're using all this like legal power to like demonize a population. I'm being vague because it applies to many people across the board, but like they're using all this legal power to actively like demonize and like to harm like a group of people. And it's like, if they were so bad, then why are you eating at Hispanic restaurants? Why are you hiring so many immigrants with so little pay? Then why are you
Like
hiring
Trump.
sex workers if they're so bad?
Trump did that.
It's like, if they're so bad, why are you hiring their services? And like, I mean, the proof is in the pudding is because they're grifters and they're assholes and they just want what makes them the most money and they just want to take advantage of people. But you know, it is important, I think. So I think Nine Tails and Merrick are right.
Yeah, or they just don't take responsibility for their own actions. They blame, they're like, oh, I only because of like, I'm different. It's the same thing we see when women who are outspoken opponents of abortion, it's revealed that they've had like, in many cases, multiple abortions. And they're like, oh no, but my case was different. With me, it was different. I wasn't one of those, you know, those harlots. And it's like, no, it's not
only okay when I do
it. Right, exactly.
Johnny?
I don't know. Yeah. I think just to Steelman Lara for a second, the reason that the first argument doesn't work on people and the reason it doesn't change minds is because pointing out hypocrisy in someone who someone else thinks has already done something morally wrong anyway. If they think being gay is bad, then yeah, they're going to say, oh, this politician was with a gay person. If you come up behind them and say, yeah, and they're a hypocrite too, that's just going to make them think they're a worse person. It doesn't actually help the cause that you think is the most important, which is the people who that politician was taking advantage of. So you have to, in order to change minds, you have to actually show that intersectionality and say, when a group of people is being taken advantage of systematically, things like this go wrong, and people who are corrupt tend to be the ones in power when that's happening. So
Where are we in
absolutely
disagreement?
no, wait, what?
I said, where are we in disagreement? I agree with what
No,
you're
we're
saying.
not. I wasn't disagreeing.
I agree.
I was steel manning you, dude. No, I was making your argument like stronger. That's what
Oh,
that
I was
means.
just like, I think that too.
I also don't know a lot of the
No.
debate terms when someone's like, I'm in
Yeah, I would have was.
I'm like, oh, I can't wait to
I'm
see how
so
this pans
sorry.
out.
Like a steel beam, dude. Yeah, I was supporting your argument. Yeah.
So,
I do want to say one thing about the hypocrisy
dictionary.
thing. I do want to say one thing about the hypocrisy thing. I think that y'all are very correct to say that hypocrisy is either their base doesn't care, or it's not going to put a positive spin on the actual like thing that we care about. But what I will say is that there are centrist and undecided voters that, when we're talking about politicians, that actually can help, and that actually can kind of sway the minds of. Also, you put it into the discourse, and the more that we talk about things in the discourse and the more that they are visible, the more we work to normalize it. And this comes back to something that we were talking about earlier, right? A big part of normalization is just discussing things, talking about them. I don't think 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we would be sitting on a panel talking about sex work, but here we are. So while being like, hey, you're a hypocrite, may not do anything to actually propel forward trans liberation. It may not propel forward getting rid of oppression for sex workers. What it does do is it gets people like us talking about these issues, and it gets people who really care strongly about these issues vocalizing that. And when people are animated and passionate and they care strongly about things, other people around them listen.
So I want to push back against like this, like hypocrisy, point out hypocrisy not being useful. I think I would agree that like it doesn't like necessarily like change all of their followers' minds, right? Like the fans of that politicians. Like I can definitely see, but I think it definitely has value within the public discourse to show that their ideology is completely hollow, right? So another person was like Ted Haggard, the guy I was referring to in terms of the evangelical priest. He was the one, if I'm remembering this correctly, I could be remembering incorrectly, that he was the big anti-gay intellectual evangelical priest who got caught like with a man who he said was like just carrying his bags or something, like his bag boy. And he was definitely gay, and he definitely ended up admitting that, and I think and it helped destroy his ministry, right? And his ministry of hate. Right? I think that's a tangible good for LGBT brothers and sisters. I think that's actually a good thing, where these hate mongers are exposed for what they actually do. That they are untrustworthy people who I guess maybe self-hating, or however you want to describe them, but that to get their followers to turn away from them, I think that's actually extremely useful. Yeah, especially since they're profiting, they're literally profiting off of the pain and the struggle of others, right? I always had and I'll go to you next, Ninetales. I always had my thought was that like, as long as they weren't being hypocrites, then I wouldn't, in my case, dox them for these things, right? So in terms of the LGBT thing, right, we found out that like a Democratic senator had been, behind people's backs, engaged with a person of the same sex, then I think there's nobody's business if they haven't been using that to their political career. On the other hand, if it was a Republican who had been campaigning against it, then yeah, you should be called out. And this, but also, okay, let's go to like our progressive friends, because there's some of our progressive politicians voted for Sesta Fosta, as Merrick was talking about, right? And yeah, if they were caught using sex worker, then maybe they should be caught out too, because they fucked up, right? And now to find out they're using these things any which way, Pastel, if you can mute yourself, then it's a problem. So let's go to Ninetales and then Pastel.
Prime, I hate to do this, and don't come back to me if this is frustrating to you, but Pastel was waiting so much longer than me, and I almost feel bad talking before.
Okay, Pastel.
Oh, so like, I just wish this hypocrisy actually mattered more. But it's almost as if the voting base who claims like this matters so much to them, who knows that their elected politicians do these things but still vote them back into office, actually doesn't care about what they say they care about. And I just really wished that like these people actually like stuck to a position and just wouldn't vote people in because of like parties. Because like it's so annoying to see like a Republican do these things that like these voters are so vocal about hating, and then literally just get reelected in over like some centrist Democrat who probably honestly fits closer to their views than a Republican who literally betrayed them. It's so annoying seeing this happening in so many states. I just like I wish so much that people just actually cared 1% more. It'd be so much better.
So we'll go to Ninetales, and then there's a question I want to ask Merrick. I want to make sure to get that in. But Ninetales, please.
Yeah, I think we're oversimplifying not just the mind of a centrist, but the mind of a bigot when we're saying if person sees X, their thoughts about this will change. Maybe it's easier of an argument to make for a centrist because you could argue that they haven't made up their mind. I think a lot of the times their position stands in like some sort of self-righteous opposition to any like seemingly extreme stance. And I don't really think that a lot of these scenarios are going to apply to centrists. So as far as like the bigoted crowd that follows these people, I don't expect this to change their voting habits because they probably want more than anything to have somebody in power. And we've seen time and time again, like look at Trump, like they don't care if someone's a hypocrite.
So I totally agree with you when you're talking about bigots. Like, you're 100% right, Ninetales. I think my argument is more for the undecided, right? People who haven't put much thought into these things, right? Who don't really care one way or the other, right? But like when taking in these messages, they might act out on these messages they hear, right? Like, oh, gay people are bad. That's what all politicians are telling me, and so I'll treat them worse, right? This is a thing we saw, for instance, quickly, just in the Obama administration, when we actually saw Obama finally come out for gay marriage. There was a massive shift in certain communities for gay marriage just after he said it. Because a lot of people didn't actually think about it, didn't ever like put their minds to the subject. Like, should I treat our gay brothers and sisters like same as I treat anyone else? No, they literally put no thought into it. But then a politician that they liked, right, said so, came out for it. Then they're like, oh no, sure, yeah, gay marriage makes sense. That's simple,
Okay.
right? So for the
Yeah.
undecided, I think that pointing out this hypocrisy, I think it actually does have an effect.
The
Yeah,
thing is
and
like with,
the few
can I respond quickly actually?
Sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, just because like to me, an undecided voter has already like either not heard or doesn't care about what this politician is doing to those communities. So I don't think hearing that they're a hypocrite will necessarily change anything. If they didn't hear about this, but now they're just hearing this, I don't think that that like is a significant way to introduce these issues to a voter base.
Okay,
Mm.
Johnny.
Sorry.
I was just gonna push back, and I was gonna say that I do believe that. You know what? Actually, I completely lost my thought.
Okay.
That's okay.
Then
I'm
I'll
really
ask
sorry.
Merrick
I just
my
I just
question.
wanted to put
happens.
time in his
No,
place.
no, it's okay. It's totally okay. It happens all the time.
So I'll ask Merrick my question now. So in terms of sex work, is just online video. Is that your extent of your work?
I was a stripper for about 6 years, and I did full service on and off while I was in the strip club, and then now I do porn.
Okay, all right.
Mm.
So the other side of politicians using escorts, right, is that almost all these politicians are married, right? Should it be the public's business that they are cheating on their wife? I kind of like moved past this before when I mentioned this. I kind of like brushed it aside. But should it actually be their business? Should it be something that people care about? That they have used these services and they've broken their marriage vows? And what do you think?
Wait, do you mean I don't know. As far as like politicians, like if they're not cheating with a sex worker, or if they're just cheating in general? Is
Well,
that what you're
both.
asking me?
Well, both really. I guess it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, if they're with a sex worker and they're married, I mean, I think it's going to come out anyway. That it's just going to be something that people realize, oh, this is cheating. But as far as like not utilizing a sex worker services, should it be anyone's business that a politician is cheating? No, I don't think so. I also don't think that it really matters in the grand scheme of things, because I don't need my politician to be someone that I would hang out with or morally. I just need them to be efficient, to be perfectly honest. I think a lot of politicians are sociopaths. I think a lot of people who seek out positions of power are sociopaths. And I just need them to be aligned with my goals, and I need them to be effective. So if they're not cheating with a sex worker and they're just cheating, I don't care. It's not my business. And I don't think it's cool to put their spouses through that either.
Interesting.
Drag that out in the
Yeah.
public.
We'll
That's a
go
really
to
good point.
Johnny, Lyra, and maybe Maddie, if you want to say something on this, I'm not sure. But
Sure.
if not, well, and then after that, we'll start wrapping things up. Go ahead, Johnny.
Okay. I will make my full point, because I have actually really thought about this. I do believe that when I said earlier that we should hold our leaders to a higher standard, that's something that I do believe. And when I say that, I do mean that there are some things that in the general public we see as, oh, well, that's their life, but they did that over there. And we don't actively punish it. We do discourage it in some social circles, but we do not actively punish it. Now, with politicians, yes, I do believe that you can punish a politician in a way by, bringing them up for a secondary vote or not voting for them next time, things like that, because they did something like cheat on their spouse, which is not inherently a crime. It's something you would normally just scorn or scoff at, but it is not something that would normally be quote unquote punished. The reason that I believe, and this is going to sound super like maybe even ideological, maybe even idealistic, but I have a lot of respect for the actual oaths that a lot of different career paths take, medical oaths, and there's an oath to be a journalist that says that you will not twist facts and things like that. There's all sorts of creeds for different like paths of how we can live our lives. And if you sit up there and you make a promise to another person to build a family with them, and then you actively break that promise, and then you sit here and you maybe put your hand on a Bible. Most of them put their hand on a Bible. If you sit there and you put your hand on a Bible and you promise to say, I'm going to serve my country, if you're not doing one of those things and you're actively screwing that up, and it becomes public knowledge because you are a public figure, you asked for that, you became a public figure on purpose, then I think that it is indicative of how you may live your professional life as well. And so I would want to know if somebody's actively going around being a crappy person and is also my politician. And I'm not going to touch Merrick's thing about them being sociopaths by and large with a 10-foot pole. I'm really not. I don't even know what to say about that.
I mean,
Okay, let's go Lyra, and then Maddie, and then we'll wrap things up.
Okay, so oh no, what was I gonna say? It's like it's jumping around. I'm losing
I
what I'm
think
saying.
we gotta all get like notepads and write stuff down.
Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Down. That's what
It doesn't work. I'm too stupid.
I do it all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's
see,
literally what I
Nine
do.
Tails
I have a
got it
notepad.
covered.
Oh, okay.
See,
I remember what I was saying. Okay, so in terms of like because the big question is like, should we care, and like how much should we care? So like I said in my opening statement, I don't care that John F. Kennedy got a blowjob from Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, you're like, okay, let me like separate these conversations. If we're talking about, not that Marilyn Monroe is a sex worker, not that, but but if we're talking about sex workers, I truly do not think that like we as a people we should like be like, oh, that politician is a terrible person. I heard that they hire sex workers. I think that's very, very like going backwards like 100 years. Also, two, it's very demonizing to the sex workers themselves, because like, what does that say that you think about sex workers, that you think associated with them inherently makes a person worse? I think that in and of itself says a lot about that person and is pretty fucked up. So that's what sex work. I think is very when we're talking about public figures sleeping with like prostitutes and hiring any type of sex work, I think it's very counterintuitive and very unproductive and very fucked up, because you're basically saying you're dehumanizing sex workers in the process. But if we're talking about like how Johnny brought up about people cheating on their wives, and I also said that I don't personally care about people cheating about their wives, and I still don't. As long as they do their job, I don't care. But Johnny did bring up a really big point that it is totally reasonable for people to care about that sort of thing, because you're breaking your oath to your wife or your husband. How do we know they're not going to break their oath to the country? So I do think it's very reasonable for people to look at that, side eye it, condemn it in their social circles, remember that next time an election comes up. However, I don't think that we should fire politicians because they cheated on their wives. As long as they're doing their jobs, I could really care less what they're doing. As long as there's no abuse, nothing illegal happening, and they're doing their jobs, I don't care if they get a blowjob. I don't care if they cheat on their wife. But that's given the caveat that they're doing the job. However, I think as a people, we do 100% are allowed to side eye that politician, be like, they cheat on their wife, so I don't know if I can trust them. I think that's totally okay. But to take legal action, I think that's too much.
Maddie.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm a little torn, and I'm admittedly not most consistent on this, because at the end of the day, we look to our leaders to be, essentially representations of what we value, and to uphold the ideals of our country, our law, our system of law, whatever. And I mean, I know that sounds like lofty and idealistic, but at the end of the day, that is sort of what we aim for, right? And a lot of it comes down to trust. Can I trust that this politician is going to do what they say they're going to do? Can I trust that they are being forthcoming when they give us the rationale for why they voted a certain way or why they support something? And when you hear about someone cheating, what you're seeing is a dissolution of trust. Hold on one second. Can you just turn the timer off, please? It's at 3:50. Sorry, I'm cooking something. So, and the timer's going off. It's gonna be great. It's red wine braised short ribs. But
Ooh, so good.
I am so hungry now.
Sorry.
I'm just eating cheese.
Also good. But yeah, basically at the end of the day, it's I do think should that make or break your vote for a politician? No, because like Merrick says, there's a lot more to consider. For example, whether or not they can pass legislation or support legislation that makes your life materially better and moves our country in the right direction. I think I would prioritize that substantially over a politician's private life. However, I do think character is important. And one of the a potential character flaw that could make me, like Lyra said, kind of side-eye someone and maybe think twice if all else held constant, supporting them versus someone else. If they are a serial cheater, have a history of cheating on their wife, that makes me think twice about it, because that would be indicative of someone who maybe is not super trustworthy and forthcoming. But like I said, I'm not always consistent on this.
Oh God, a hypocrite. Maybe we should expose her. Okay.
Expose me.
All right. Thank you.
She's a grifter.
Thank you all. We'll wrap things up here. I'll give an outro to all my guests. All right. Starting with Oh, and to my audience before then, of course, the stream is not ending. The stream is not ending. We are moving on to the open walk-on panel right after this, where audience members like you, yes, you may participate. So we love to have you there. So remember, we're just going to give an exit here, but the stream will not be over after this. All right, starting with Lyra. Lyra, thanks for coming through. Really do appreciate you stopping by and joining us. One of the few, one of the honored to join us, but much appreciated.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much again for inviting me. I will thank you every time that you bring me on these panels because I really do appreciate being on. I love these panels. I honestly do. Everyone's always so well spoken. I always like how so much like good discussion and productivity comes out of these panels. So I really do love speaking on these. But yes, hi everybody. Hi chat. I'm Lyra Centauri. I do stream on Twitch. I'm going to be playing It Takes Two later on tonight, probably a little bit after midnight. I'm having issues with my internet, so it'll take me a while to go live. But, you know, maybe stop by if you want to hang out a bit. I'm going to be playing It Takes Two with my mod. But, you know, always fun to be here. It was very awesome speaking with all of you ladies.
Thanks so much. Next, I will go to Ninetales. Ninetales, thanks for stopping by. You've been quite a few of our panels. Everyone's always happy to have you around. Ninetales, tell a little about yourself.
Oh, yeah, okay, thank you. I'm Ninetales. I guess I do panels mostly. Haven't really had a whole bunch of time to like make content and stuff, but I do have a YouTube channel eventually. I don't stream to Twitch, although if I ever do, you can follow my Twitter, which I just posted in chat. And eventually, when I do stream to Twitch or release my Not Safe for Work Twitter account, then you can find that there. Also, my YouTube is linked through there if you're really interested. But as you'll see, I haven't been uploading, so I'm kind of embarrassed by it.
Okay, thanks so much. Next, Pastel Dallas. Pastel, thanks for being around. Pastel, I think you also definitely a crowd favorite here. People are like, oh wow, she's back. So Pastel, thanks for hanging out with my community. Tell a little about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Pastel or Abigail. I stream on Twitch sometimes, and I haven't recently. I'm going to like get better at that. Trust me. Just been watching too much of a good series. Recently on Twitch in my free time, I've been doing more politics, talking about more like actual activism IRL. Going more into the philosophical beliefs behind policy and why people think the things they do. I'm actually using my Twitter now as of like today and yesterday. So actually go follow my Twitter. I promise this time I'll be active on it. Like for sure this time. I won't forget. I have a Discord. You can come around, have whatever conversation you want with me. I'll like a very open person. I'll answer almost any question. I'm planning to get good at a fighting game. So if you want to watch me get frustrated and lose to people multiple times, come and watch my streams because that'll be happening a lot more frequently. And apparently, the rest of my chat loves that content. They love whenever I get upset. So make sure to come and join that too. You'll probably like it. And then yeah, that's really all I do. Thank you for having me on the panel, Prime. And I was actually a little bit happy that whenever I came on the panel today, some people did actually miss me. That made me feel really good. Also, to the chatters earlier who were mad at me for calling you out, stay mad. Pepe hands. I mean Pepe laugh. You're like okay, I'm gonna dunk on someone. Someone in here tried to call me like cringe and stupid and I only had 3 brain cells. I replied to them, said they were projecting. I haven't seen them in chat since. So I'm not gonna say they got mad and left, but I'm gonna say they got mad and left, okay? That's a debate
You
one.
tell them.
Okay.
Bye.
There's just something so addicting about shitting on assholes in chat. It's just so fun.
True.
I don't know what it is.
It's cathartic.
Yeah.
Okie doke, but thank you so much, Pastel. See, this is the attitude people gravitate towards you for. Maddie Cakes, Maddie, thanks for coming through. I know you had your real life stuff that was in the way. But I appreciate you just jumping on right after you handling your job, your big account and all that stuff. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, I thank you for being. I really appreciate your patience on that too. Yeah, our podunk tiny agency that we're just starting out is signing their first big client. So of course you want to roll out the red carpet for your client. But thank you. I'm Maddie Cakes. I stream at twitch.tv. @MaddieCakes_. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as Mads Maru. That's spelled MADSMARU. I tweet and talk about politics, culture, economics, and all that fun stuff. And I have recently been playing Wild Rift, which is really fun and addicting. And it's now been sort of like the main thing through which I channel my rage. So if you would like to see that, I have started to stream more in that vein. But again, like, can't echo the sentiments that have already been said enough. This panel freaking rules. We have such good discussion every single time, and it is always a pleasure to be on here. And Prime, thank you. And to everyone who's watching, if you're not already subscribed to Prime, you should do that.
Truer words were never said, honestly. Thank you so much. Johnny Scarlet, you've come in last second to rescue me, right? Like a superhero. I think that's the only way I can describe it. Like a superhero, dramatic opening right there. So Johnny, tell the world about yourself.
What's up, friends? A lot of you have seen me on Amazon Lily before, and for that I am super grateful to Prime always. I love this panel as well. I am gonna do something different. Although I do normally stream on twitch.tv/Johnny Scarlet. I actually just got a new job, and so my schedule has been thrown into total disarray as far as streaming goes. So I am most active on Instagram. So you guys, I'm putting my Instagram right here. A lot of you know I've been modeling since I was like 15. This is where you can find that sort of side of my life. I do photo shoots with different local photographers and like international ones who come through. This is where I post that. So if you want to support that content, I would love for you to follow me on Instagram as well as Twitch. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, all right, everyone, please check out Johnny Scarlet's work there. Last but not least, I'm actually curious. I'm gonna click on your link too. I'm curious what that looks like. But
hell yeah.
Last but not least, we have Merrick. Merrick, who has been one of my most elusive guests, who has been kind enough to step in and on a day where it was very much needed. Thank you, Merrick, for coming around. Like, you are quite fascinating. I think the last time you were on, it happened as well. Like, all the topics kind of drifted to your area of expertise. I think you've kind of had that like a magnetic personality that allows that to happen. People want to hear what you have to say. Like, I actually really mean this. Yeah, you really want to hear what you have to say. So yeah, everyone wants to go along and explore these topics with you. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I understand you're very tired and it's at the end of everything else, but you stopped by any which way. So it's very much appreciated.
Oh, I just thank you for inviting me on. I know that you guys have tried to get me on for like 4 weeks in a row, and like stuff keeps popping up. So I really appreciate you like continuing to extend the opportunity. That's really cool. Yeah, it's a delight to be on here. Anyone who has the ability to give, I think with their Prime subs, right? Or through like Amazon. I don't know how Twitch works. I'm a boomer. Go give them to Prime. I'm really grateful to be on the panel. Please go support him. And yeah, I am a sex worker, but I also do lefty commentary. I stream on YouTube and Twitch under the name Merrick DeVille. I have been big permabanned from Twitter, but I have a friend and her name is Eldritch Mother, and she is on Twitter. So if you want to see what she's doing and she can tell me about it, you could follow her there. And yeah, I just thank you so much for giving me the chance to be on. I enjoyed meeting all of you ladies. And this was fun, and I really need to go to sleep.
Okay, all right. So thanks so much, and I'm gonna go follow you as well. I'm excited to see that you're streaming. So yeah, I'm definitely following you myself, and everyone else should too. I think I typed in your name correctly, so hopefully I'm not sending them to someone else. But we'll see. Okay, so we're gonna roll on to our open walk on panel right after this. Any of you are welcome to join us, but if not, that's okay. Thank you for spending your time, your energy, your passion, your knowledge with my community, myself. I know they appreciate it just as much as I do. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.